I'm leveling up my stats on a deserted island. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 26 Mysterious Zone Attacks Earth. 15 is a medium-sized fishing boat. It was originally fishing in the North Sea fishing grounds. With the outbreak of the disaster, it suddenly fell into the mysterious area of the Atlantic Ocean. Unfortunately, the fishing boat may hide an unknown hard object and water entered the bottom. Before the fishing boat was about to sink, the fishermen found another island. They hurried over. Even more unfortunately, there are a large number of mutant plants on the island, and there may be hallucinogenic pollen. However, within a week, 3 of the more than 20 people in the group had gone crazy and rushed into the jungle on their own initiative, and the mental state of the remaining crew members was not quite right. As for the mysterious area number 6, it was even more desperate. It was originally a large offshore oil drilling platform with a total of more than 100 oil workers working on it. But now, the platform is slowly sinking and is expected to sink completely into the sea within half a month. According to the images in the Mirage, the drilling platform was not damaged, but the seawater rose inexplicably, as if the whole world was going to completely swallow up the trapped people. Incomprehensible supernatural phenomena are more despairing than physical disasters. That's the general information. After Li Xianfeng introduced the information, he tapped the table lightly with his fingers. Everyone feel free to add to it, speak freely, don't hesitate. In the supernatural era, past experiences are not accurate, but imagination is the most important. Soon, an expert wearing glasses, named Wang Yuhang, threw out a brick to track jade. It can be confirmed that the mysterious area number 16 where Zhang Ming is located can receive satellite broadcasts, while the other 15 mysterious areas cannot receive broadcasts. This fact is actually quite strange. Well, it's really strange. It may be due to the special geographical location, Li Xianfeng nodded, but we can't investigate it. There are too many unsolved mysteries now. Wang Yuhang asked. Zhang Ming asked us about the production method of coconut food on the beach. It should be a test whether the satellite can observe his movements. Do we need to send relevant information? After pondering for a moment, Li Xianfeng frowned and said, the production method of coconut food can be mixed in various food information and sent together, but we can't let him know too obviously that the Mirage outside can see part of his movements. Why? Because this kind of thing brings too much psychological pressure. If a normal person knows that his every move is under the spotlight, and even his life and death are linked to the fate of the country, the psychological pressure is really terrible. Considering that Zhang Ming has always been a low-key person, there is no need to let him know the whole truth. Even if he knows, what will happen? It will only make Zhang Ming deliberately avoid the beach, and the information observed by humans will be reduced. In danger, those who are supposed to die will still die. Of course, it doesn't mean to conceal it completely. At least let Zhang Ming know that the human base can barely know his situation and provide more effective information. It is enough to form such a tacit understanding. In the future, if he has any new discoveries, he can write them on the beach, and we will send him the information he needs through broadcasting. So that direct communication can be achieved. After discussing for a while and determining the content of the next broadcast, Li Xianfeng nodded slightly and breathed a sigh of relief. There is also the next important matter, the exploration and rescue work in the mysterious area. Are you ready? It's difficult. The current earthquakes are still frequent, and the sea waves are strong. Ships cannot sail normally. Only submarines can barely sail. A military expert who was about 50 years old shook his head and explained, but the mysterious area is too dangerous. If a submarine runs over, it may be a one-way trip. As for unmanned submarines, as far as I know, the Americans have sent unmanned submarines, but as soon as they entered the mysterious area, these machines lost contact directly. Only the mysterious area number 16 is special and can transmit satellite broadcasts. But where is the mysterious area number 16? Li Xianfeng pondered for a moment and tapped the table. There are always more solutions than problems. Since the electronic equipment will lose connection, tie it with a long rope, and when it loses connection, retrieve it and analyze the data inside. This method is a bit stupid, but it is better than doing nothing. What can you analyze by sitting in the office all day long? We can't just wait like this. Someone has to conduct an on-site investigation. The experts frowned, shook their heads, and felt the pressure. The leader issued the task. But I know the level of my family, the funds are not much, and I have to take responsibility if someone dies. What should I do? There have been no strong earthquakes in recent days, and the waves in the ocean have indeed decreased a little, but people's understanding of the mysterious area is limited to mirages. In the face of endless supernatural phenomena, no matter how prepared, it is impossible to completely guarantee safety. Just as everyone was discussing more and more heatedly, Li Xianfeng suddenly found that his communicator vibrated. He quickly clicked it to take a look. His pupils contracted, and he coughed lightly, signaling everyone to be quiet. Everyone, something happened on the 15th. The expert team in the room stopped discussing and looked at the big screen. The atmosphere in the room gradually became weird. I thought it was the 16th just now, and I almost had a heart attack. 15 and 16. But there is only one letter difference. The same island seen in the mirage on the 15th has changed significantly. The dozen fishermen who were trapped on the island and in a bad mental state lined up one by one, facing the mirage, dancing and making some twisted movements. In the lead gray clouds, these movements were like puppets, filled with a sense of stiffness. Due to the low resolution of the mirage, it is difficult to see the expressions on the faces of these fishermen. But no matter from which angle you look at it, these fishermen seem to be making movements to the sky? Are they crazy? Li Xianfeng did not speak, always feeling that these movements made him panic, not like what humans can do, more like robots or puppets. As these dance moves continued, a strange sound slowly came into people's minds like an ant crawling. Li Xianfeng was stunned for a moment, rubbed his ears, and the he sound became louder and louder. He felt his blood slowly turning cold. Even though he knew that there were many supernatural phenomena in this world that science could not understand, it was the first time he encountered such a strange thing. Or rather, it was the first time for the entire human civilization. That laughter actually came from a mirage. Chapter 27 Disaster Strikes. Li Xianfeng was sweating profusely, his mind racing, trying to regain control of his body, but the strange laughter was getting louder and louder, occupying the minds of everyone in the room. Gradually, his body began to lose control and wanted to make the same dance moves as the fishermen. Everyone in the room also made the same moves. However, at this moment, the mirage suddenly became blurred, and finally turned into a difficult-to-see pattern like a Marseilles. As the picture could not be distinguished, the strange laughter in his mind disappeared. Li Xianfeng regained consciousness from his trance, his heart beating violently as if it was about to burst out of his chest, and big drops of sweat soaked his clothes. Did you hear the laughter just now? He found that his voice was extremely hoarse. I heard it, and I couldn't control my body at all, and I moved on my own. I almost stopped thinking, except for the trance and fear, but as the mirage blurred, we seemed to be protected. These experts, one by one, panted and looked at each other with fear. The strange scene was completely beyond human comprehension. Li Xianfeng wiped the sweat from his forehead, deeply worried. The scene just now might have been seen by hundreds of millions of people around the world. The panic caused might be countless. Human civilization is actually built on expectations. As a group, humans have survived to this day, relying on the belief that this world, the afterlife, and future generations will eventually get better. This is the basis for the formation of human organization, and it is also the main reason why an army with faith can cross thousands of mountains and rivers, and a corrupt and decadent team is vulnerable. If we lose our optimistic expectations, if we know that we will inevitably be destroyed in the limited future, and even our future generations and the afterlife will not be spared, then mankind will be destroyed immediately. Fortunately, the mirage blurred in time. Is there really a God in the dark? What exactly is a mirage? Is it really meant to bring enlightenment to mankind? Li Xianfeng swallowed his saliva, plucked up his courage, and looked at the mosaic-like pattern of the mirage number 15 again. The dozen fishermen were dancing and twisting their hands. There were no enemies, no external disasters, but they suddenly went crazy. Perhaps because of excessive tension, or because of the fear of the unknown, the room was silent. The scientific researchers were sweating all over, trying to analyze the scenes with a professional attitude. Did you find any unknown life forms in the picture? Or are there any parasites? Not yet. Area 15 was attacked by this laughter, right? They are probably finished. How to avoid the risk of looking directly at the mirage? There may be many such crises in the mysterious area. The fishermen twisted for half an hour and finally exhausted all their strength. They fell to the ground one by one, like large maggots rolling around. They slowly crawled into the jungle. The silent mirage was like a silent horror movie. In this era of information explosion, the horror of this picture is actually acceptable. There are more man-made horrors in the world. But when I think of this actually happened in reality, coupled with the weird laughter just now, it is hard for humans hiding on Earth to accept it. What's more, after all the survivors of the mysterious area know 15 died, the serious consequences that Maker Li Xianfeng wiped the sweat from his forehead and whispered, "These are the people of Dong country, right? Even if they are dead, it is indeed from Europe." As for whether there is any impact, it is unknown. Li Xianfeng began to call one after another, alerting for possible disasters. All over the world, as long as the area where the mirage appeared, it was all affected by the laughter. He didn't know what kind of doom humans were about to face, but he felt that his heart was fiercely entangled by the unknown fate. This heaviness made him a little breathless. Starting from the manipulation of the soil, humans realized their extraordinary ability to create all things. The birth was like the light shining, and the death was like the night falling. From understanding all things to understanding themselves, humans have paid too much. But now, everything has been torn down and started again. The reason that humans are proud of is worthless in the face of the unknown. 10 minutes later, the disaster really came. It really came from the Great Ang Kingdom. The satellite in the sky detected earthquake data. The experts discussed a series of chain reactions, and their faces were all very serious. In the Great Britain region of Europe, the North Sea oil field was hit by a strong earthquake of magnitude 9.7. The geological rock formation was severely damaged, and a large amount of oil leaked into the ocean. In the North Sea gas field, about 600 billion cubic meters to 1.5 trillion cubic meters of natural gas and various toxic gases may leak into the atmosphere. The methane leak this time is 10 to 20 times that of the Nord Stream pipeline. Li Xianfeng trembled all over. What are the consequences? What are the consequences that affect us? The gray-haired expert swallowed his saliva and explained without hesitation. The greenhouse effect of methane is 120 times that of carbon dioxide. With the frequent earthquakes, more and more methane leaks. Global warming is a foregone conclusion. The melting of glaciers in the Arctic and Antarctic is accelerating, and the sea level will rise by 60 meters in the next 10 years. The atmosphere in the office seemed a little cold. A 60-meter rise in sea level means that the world's richest coastal cities will be completely submerged. Daksha, of course, has no chance of being spared. The expert added, let's put it this way. The eastern part of our country and other regions will become a vast ocean. Shandong has a special terrain, so Shandong will become 2 islands in the future. At this point, only Shenzhen can survive among our country's first-tier cities. The large-scale disappearance of the eastern region will not only affect the development of our country's economy, but also greatly affect food. Rice will become a luxury. Everyone should prepare to eat sweet potatoes and potatoes in the future. There will be blizzards in the inland Soviet Union, and the thickness may exceed 10 meters, and the eastern part of the United States and other regions will be eroded by hurricanes and tsunamis, and the other part will become an uninhabited desert. Someone asked out of the blue, can the world still support so many people? After a long time, someone said, it's very difficult. Very difficult. If you can't afford it, you have to eliminate the population. Li Xianfeng was choked in his chest, and suddenly, he couldn't say anything. The great entity of mankind was defeated by this disaster. Doomsday came silently. Now, if you really hold the idea that relying on nuclear weapons, human beings can sit back and relax, it can only be said that you have a childish disease. Nuclear weapons may be used in civil wars. He just clenched his fists tightly. He could not do anything except cursing this damn era in his heart. The strength of his whole body was drained away at once. He turned his head and glanced at Mirage number 16. Zhang Ming was still happily drying crab meat on the beach, full of energy. Unconsciously, a trace of courage appeared in his heart. Such a tragic environment, but they all survived. We are just in a difficult situation, not to lose hope. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28, The Great Recruitment and the Serum Project. The whole world was shocked. The death of all the survivors in the mysterious area number 15 and the outbreak of the North Sea earthquake were only 10 minutes apart. One coincidence can be said to be a coincidence, two coincidences will be inevitable. What's more, the weird laughter that appeared in the mirage has attacked at least 1 billion people. The creepy laughter has exceeded the scope of human science. Once controlled by the laughter, it is almost impossible to break free. If the mirage had not become blurred on its own, the casualties this time might have reached tens of digits. Large-scale group fear has occurred, the number of pedestrians on the road has dropped significantly, and many factories have stopped production. Even the war zone has temporarily stopped the exchange of fire. Affected by the strong earthquake, the network in the European area was completely paralyzed, and only the satellite network in the sky could still be used. Professor, has the end of the world come? The earthquake destroyed everything here. I can still feel the shaking. I'm scared. Someone come and save me. Is that laughter coming from a monster? Where's humanity going? When there is really a possibility of rivers of blood flowing and affecting themselves, it is impossible for these people who love fun not to panic. About half an hour later, the famous parapsychologist Peter Greer quickly posted a new tweet: God saved us. Without God's guidance, we would have been killed by the devil, but we are always accustomed to the upward spiral of history, and have never considered the downward spiral of history. The Archean era was 2.1 billion years, the Sinian period of the Proterozoic era was 1.83 billion years, then the Paleozoic era, Cambrian period was 70 million years, Ordovician period was 60 million years, Silurian period was 40 million years, Devonian period was 50 million years, Carboniferous period was 6.5 million years, Permian period was 55 million years, then the Mesozoic era began, Triassic period was 35 million years, Jurassic period was 58 million years, Cretaceous period was 70 million years, then the Cenozoic era. Tertiary period was 64.5 million years, Quaternary period was 2.5 million years, then humans appeared. The time we exist is equivalent to the last minute of a 24-hour day. We know very little about this world, we are such creatures. For the sake of convenience, we never consider the opposite side of the problem when solving it. We always play by the rules and don't like to consider other special circumstances. Unless there is a tragic event, we will always be self-satisfied and unwilling to change. Once we get rid of the passive situation, we will immediately return to the vicious circle of clinging to the old and the new. Has the end of the world come? No, not yet. The revelation is not over yet. Will we unite in the disaster? No, the footsteps of war are approaching, and it is knocking on my door. This paragraph made many netizens silent. They wanted to be trolls but couldn't. The habitable land is constantly decreasing, and no one knows what will happen in the future. For Daksha, the state machine was fully activated at the fastest speed, covering up most of the pictures and materials of the mirage on the 15th to reduce the possibility of the laughter appearing again. Experts were urgently mobilized to discuss a series of chain reactions brought about by the Bihai earthquake. At 6 o'clock that night, the shelter where the fat driver Wang Fuman was located played several important notices through the loudspeaker. In order to maintain world peace, promote international education, and solve international problems of economic, social, cultural and human welfare nature, the Ministry of National Defense of Daksha announced that it will recruit 30 million in the next 5 years. Young people aged 18 to 40 who are interested in joining the army can register online through the National Education Network. The physical examination will be officially launched within a week. For love and peace, crazy education, right, 30 million. Wang Fuman was shocked by the number, holding a dry cigarette in his mouth. What else can it be? Those big shots were scared by the laughter in the daytime. Maybe there will really be a war. Old Wang, was naturally also scared by the scene in the daytime. Who wouldn't be scared by the phenomenon that cannot be explained by science? Fortunately, nothing happened. The female anchor in the news said, in this era of constant natural disasters and man-made disasters, it is necessary to strengthen the armed forces in the military. The second news. The Syrian plan was promulgated to recruit 130 million workers. It is expected that in the next 10 years, 128 inland industrial urban areas, 300 super-large shelters, 1,600 medium-sized shelters, 70,000 new dams and 11,600 water storage lakes will be built in the western region. We will build a new Jiangnan water town in the western region. The main contradiction in the future determines that we must seek truth from facts, take the study of supernatural phenomena as the core, and protect the lives and property of the people. We need to continue the race and survive in the difficult future. So the plan is code-named Surin. Wang Fumin's face turned pale, and many people in the shelter also talked in twos and threes after hearing the news. The Surin plan requires 130 million workers, plus family members and various service personnel, which means that the country needs 300 to 500 million people to serve this big plan. It can't be said to be grand. Lu Tuiyu stared at the screen of his mobile phone, smiling and muttering, "It's just a pity that the country only needs bricklayers in the future, and programmers like us can only change our careers to move bricks. If I encounter a monster or something, I don't need to be too strong. If it dares to attack me, I dare to die. It's not that miserable." Wang Fumin took out a wrinkled cigarette from his pocket, reluctant to light it, and took a few puffs. "Look at the guy in the mysterious area number 16. Doesn't he live a hard life by catching crabs every day? When I saw his miserable appearance, without even anyone to talk to, and treating Coconut as his wife, I felt better." "You're right. With a more miserable bottom, how come I seem to be happy? I always feel something is wrong." Lu Tuiyu played with his mobile phone and cursed in a low voice. "Did you send the drifting bottle? Can it come back? If the guy dies, we might all die." "What the hell did it send?" Wang Fumin looked at the ceiling with some doubt. "It's been sent for so many days, it won't really take several years, right? I really want to add more content to the letter." Chapter 29. 1 month. Days passed by one. Hearing on the radio that the whole world was in dire straits, not only did a super strong earthquake occur, but also was attacked by supernatural phenomena, Zhang Ming inexplicably had a subtle feeling. He thought he was not a morally corrupt person, and he did not particularly gloat over other people's misfortunes, but what was the source of this subtle feeling? Zhang Ming was not clear, and could only attribute it to those who watch funerals do not mind the size of the funeral, and those who watch fires are not afraid of the flames being high. Of course, he also knew that this strange psychological phenomenon might be caused by a long-term lack of social interaction and lead to psychological abnormality. Since life settled down, loneliness has become the most difficult thing. In the first week, eat delicious crabs to increase your comprehensive attributes, and your mind is full of random thoughts, pink apps, two-dimensional girls, three-dimensional girls, anime, movies, novels, games, and even some mysterious fantasies about high heels and women's clothing. In the second week, eat crabs that I am a little tired of. I miss my family and wonder how they are doing. I don't know how my sister did in the final exam. I don't know how those aunts, uncles, and uncles are doing. In fact, Zhang Ming didn't have much contact with those relatives, but for some reason he missed the blood relationship so much. In the third week, he ate crabs and missed his childhood. At the same time, he wondered whether the damn rescue team would come. Why was there no news at all? The expedition team doesn't exist at all, right? In the fourth week, he ate disgusting crabs and cursed the illusory god. He began to lose hope in life. The concept of time became irrelevant because the memory of every day was exactly the same, and the memory of yesterday and today was the same. Zhang Ming lay on the beach and wrote a few lines of text: crabs, beeping. Turtles, peeing. They are very similar, one by one. Writers, after writing this poem, Zhang Ming looked at the bright sun and deeply praised his literary talent. When there is only one person in the world, no matter how bad my writing is, I am a great writer. Loneliness is a gradual process that will exclude some things that seem colorful and brilliant but are actually irrelevant. Questions like did RNG win the championship this year? Did the most failed new book fail? Who is better, James or Jordan? How is Ronaldo playing in Saudi Arabia? Is Messi going to transfer? Which will die first, LOL or Dota? Is Pirates finished? Are totally irrelevant. In the end, only the real core is left, my favorite group of young ladies. No. What should my original life be like? Being a screw in society, working diligently until I was in my 30s, I finally saved enough for the down payment and live a life of poverty. At the age of 35, I was fired by the company and became a member of the social talents. If you are lucky, you can find a wife and reproduce like normal people. If you are unlucky, you will be alone for the rest of your life, which is also a true portrayal of the times. But with the advent of the supernatural era, everyone's fate has changed. I might be killed by the earthquake and tsunami in the first wave of disasters. Even if I am not dead, I will most likely be unemployed. I don't have the ability to dominate the world. Nor am I a pig in the wind. Among the masses, I am an insignificant existence. I don't have the strength of a middle-aged uncle, even if I am despised for moving bricks. When Zhang Ming thought of this, he felt a little more comfortable. Being on this deserted island, there are still many opportunities and challenges. He can continue to become stronger, gain more abilities, and even become a real Superman. This is an opportunity given to him by the times. Don't miss it. However, before becoming a Superman, I really want to eat the 8 treasure porridge made by my mother. Zhang Ming burst into tears when he thought of the sweet and delicious 8 treasure porridge. He could only stay here and eat the damn crab legs. Deep in his heart, he set a small goal for himself to cross the Pacific Ocean alone. If you don't come to pick me up, I will swim back by myself. As long as I am strong enough, I will definitely do it. In this way, a month of survival passed quietly. Slightly bending his arms and clenching his fists, his biceps bulged into a powerful arc, and Zhang Ming was satisfied with the abundant strength. Power burst, he shouted hey, and now he could easily lift a 300 gin coconut and throw it out like a basketball. He jumped slightly upward, and this jump directly jumped 5 meters high. This is the result of a month of practice eating crab meat. However, when he smelled the smell of a crab, he was almost paralyzed. No matter how delicious the delicacies from the mountains and the sea are, eating them as a staple food for 3 meals a day will become extremely painful. I don't want to eat crab meat anymore even if I starve to death, Zhang Ming bit it fiercely, feeling the mysterious heat brought by the crab meat, gritting his teeth. Of course, in addition to crab meat, there are also coconut meat, coconut sugar, coconut milk and other foods made from coconut fruit. When the physical strength is greater than 50, it is not a big problem to eat a small amount of coconut meat. This thing will also bring a slight mysterious heat flow, but the effect is only 1/5 of crab meat. Of course, eating too much will still cause diarrhea. But don't underestimate the powerful force of the mutant coconut. If you don't want your chrysanthemum to suffer the pain of being cut into pieces, you should not eat more than 50 grams of coconut meat a day. He dug a hole in the tree behind him, and stored about 100 pounds of crab meat in it, including air-dried, sun-dried, smoked, pickled, everything. As for air-dried coconut meat, coconut oil, and coconut sugar, there are also 100 pounds, packed in several boxes. In addition to abundant food, his living environment has improved significantly. In a month, Zhang Ming removed more metal plates from the wreckage of the plane on the beach and made a tin house that could shelter from wind and rain. A fence was also installed in the outer area, made by pointing the crab's pointed feet upright. Dear listeners, good evening. I am announcer Li Xianfeng, and I will bring you the daily news. The International Geological Research Bureau issued the latest announcement. This large-scale plate movement was caused by unknown interactions in the core of the Earth. It will not disappear in a short time. We must adapt to a life where small and medium-sized earthquakes may occur at any time. After a month of emergency mobilization, more than 60% of the population in large cities has been evacuated to nearby villages. Reducing the population density of cities and ensuring the living needs of the people are the current priorities of the government. The site selection for the Suram project has just been announced, and it is located in the broadcast at 6:30 p.m. every day is Zhang Ming's only way to communicate with humans. Under the wave of spiritual revival, the changes in human civilization are beyond imagination, thanks to the leader only waiting for someone for the reward. The first leader of this book has appeared. However, this donkey can't walk anymore, so he just sticks out his tongue and lies on the ground. The boss can only shake his head helplessly, saying that he can add more after it is put on the shelves, and stuffs the carrot into this donkey's mouth. So I owe it first, and I will add more after it is put on the shelves. Chapter 30 The Power of Nature. Zhang Ming drew an image of the earth on the ground. His knowledge of geography was average, and after a long time, he could barely describe the outlines of the 7 continents and 4 oceans. In the past, I would never understand the beauty of radio. Today, I pay attention to the world situation all day long, and I wish the news could be broadcast all day. Due to frequent earthquakes, high-rise buildings are no longer safe, and megacities are disappearing at a very fast rate. The real estate industry collapsed completely within a month, leaving a large group of victims who owed a large amount of debt to the bank. In this case, people are unable to repay their mortgages, and it is impossible to repay their mortgages. My house has collapsed. Who the hell cares about your bank's debt collection? Get out, I have no money. Even if I become a deadbeat, I have no money. Large-scale breach of contract has led to a large area of bad debts in banks, and depositors' money is naturally gone, further triggering a run. Finance, a virtual concept, affects all aspects of the operation of human society. When finance is paralyzed, the economy is also paralyzed. In order to stabilize monetary credit, banking financial institutions have established an internal trading system with gold as the basic unit. In order to cope with a wave of bank runs, citizens of Daksha are limited to withdrawing 10,000 yuan per month. Are we going to use the gold standard again? It seems to be a historical necessity. With earthquakes and tsunamis that erupt from time to time, the productivity of the whole country has dropped sharply. Inflation continues to soar. Whether it is food, clothing, cars, or cutting-edge electronic products, such as iPhone 999, Warwick 888 mobile phones, 4090 graphics cards, and various chips, the prices have soared sharply. Some commodities, such as gold, have soared 30 times in a month, and silver has risen 20 times in a month. Various electronic products have also risen by more than 2 to 5 times. Many ordinary people believe that these high-tech products are the highest technological crystallization that humans can produce. In the next 20 years or even 100 years, there will be no more advanced electronic products. Zhang Ming, radio. Our country's current grain reserves are sufficient to meet the food needs of all people for a year without any grain output. Experts believe that the earthquake does not affect grain production, and even due to the influence of climate factors, some areas will have an unprecedented bumper harvest of grain. The state has set up a special governance department to crack down on illegal and criminal acts such as grain, clothing and other daily necessities, rare goods, and high-priced sales. Zhang Ming sat in a chair and listened to the radio. It was difficult for him to imagine the current level of chaos in the world. The poor were starving, and the rich were still rushing to buy mobile phones and cars. The cities were gone, and the countryside was popular. Half of the countries in the world were paralyzed, and the big countries were struggling to support themselves. Daksha is already the country with the best organizational ability in the blue planet, and it is already the limit to ensure that the people are not starved to death. It is not ruled out that the content of the broadcast is slightly beautified. After all, the announcer Li Xianfeng is also a person in the system. And he can't say bad things about the system. The power of nature is so terrifying. I don't know how much my parents have been affected. Staying in a small county town in my hometown, it shouldn't be a problem to have enough food, right? By the way, my mother's gold necklace and gold ring should be worth a lot of money. Suddenly he thought of something and took out a briefcase with a full 270,000 US dollars in it. In a third-tier city, the down payment money is light, but heavy. My money hasn't been spent yet, and it has become a pile of waste paper. A pile of colorful US dollars in his hand said, "If you have the guts, burn us. If you have the guts, burn us." After thinking for a long time, he still couldn't bear to burn it. Although it has become hairy, it is still valuable. As long as the United States across the Pacific Ocean does not collapse completely, the US dollar will still have value. 270,000 US dollars may be able to buy several meals of KFC. It's still quite fragrant when you think about it. Lao Zhang feels that the saliva in his mouth is secreted. Li Xianfeng continued in his own voice, "Today's domestic news has been broadcasted. Here is the international news." Fusang announced the implementation of a national immigration plan. It is expected that in the next 10 years, the national population will be dispersed to various regions such as South America, North America, Asia, Australia, and Africa. Under the mediation of the International United Organization, the first batch of 1 million immigrants have boarded an ocean-going ship and officially went to Australia. Australian Prime Minister Barrison expressed a warm and sincere welcome to these 1 million immigrants. Australia is so good. Will they be extradited as slaves? They're all young ladies, Zhang Ming was thinking wildly in his heart. The Dongfei Dam broke in the strong earthquake, and the number of victims in the flood-stricken area reached 50 million. The International United Organization issued a fundraising appeal to avoid the next humanitarian disaster. The largest chemical plant in North America, Urhail Group, suffered a serious leak, and about 340 tons of vinyl chloride leaked into the air. International news is worse than domestic news. Happiness is compared. As long as the foreign country is worse, the domestic country seems not so bad. Even Zhang Ming himself had some inexplicable sense of sudden realization, as if the current life was acceptable. But will humanity perish? Obviously not. Modern countries have a much higher disaster tolerance than agricultural countries in the feudal era. Now only 500 million people have disappeared from the world's 8 billion people. In the radio, 500 million sounds like just a number, just like the 500 million civilians who died in the game. Without seeing it with your own eyes, You have no idea at all. Even hearing these things every day, you will slowly become numb. At first, when you hear about various disasters, you will think of the boy who fell on the beach, the seabirds contaminated by oil, and the little girl running in the explosion. But now, all thoughts have turned into lead gray nothingness, dissipating with the sea breeze. Just like the description of disasters in history books, there is great famine and people eat each other, there is only a light sentence. Zhang Ming couldn't help but recall the sentence spring swallows return and nest in the trees. Which does not describe how humans are, but only cruelty. Mount Fuji erupted, turning the surrounding area into scorched earth. The death toll in Fuso was actually only a small 8-digit number. After all, it is an industrial power. As long as they are willing to pay a high price, there are still regions willing to accept high-quality citizens. More deaths occurred in poor and small countries. They didn't even have the opportunity to be reported in the news. No one knows what happened to the civilians in those small countries, no one cares, and the world's mainstream public opinion does not have enough energy to focus on them. The so-called "I don't care about the rise of, I only care about dignity" is really a bullshit in this era. The earth farts, and people are gone. Without a strong country, who will care about your life or death? Being robbed, having a kidney stabbed, committing suicide, being starved to death, you call for help, but who will pay attention to you? Chapter 31, The Rookie Fighter. Li Xianfeng blah blah muttered a series of tragic situations in the world, and then changed the subject. Now let me report a major scientific research achievement. The research on supernatural subjects has achieved a major breakthrough. The expert team of the Institute of Biology of Peking University and Tsinghua University has conducted a lot of research on mutant life and published an important paper, Preliminary Analysis of Alpha Organisms, which was on the cover of Nature and Science magazines. Scientists have discovered that the flesh and blood of mutant organisms contain a variety of special biological enzymes. The expert team calls it alpha enzyme. With this substance as the core, it can form a special active enzyme, which greatly improves the life strength of cells and thus produces a series of special superpowers. But the key question of why alpha enzymes are born in humans and mutant organisms is still an unsolved mystery. Currently, no instrument can detect the so-called spiritual energy. You are outdated, human. Zhang Ming was a little proud in his heart. I have been eating crabs for a month, and you are still studying whether the alpha element can be eaten. Just eat it. But for scientific research, it is a great thing to produce results in a month. One can imagine the scene of scientists staying up all night to write in order to be the first to publish their research results. Li Xianfeng continued, the research team found that in addition to mutant organisms containing alpha enzymes, there are more biological enzymes of unknown nature, beta enzymes, gamma enzymes, delta enzymes, etc. If you rashly consume mutant organisms of unknown types, you will suffer from vomiting, diarrhea, and splitting headaches at the mildest, and genetic collapse, cell mutation, and serious aberrations at the worst. Zhang Ming was stunned for a moment. This is a very important piece of information. Don't eat anything randomly. Li Xianfeng. So, dear listeners, how can we tell whether mutant creatures are edible? The expert group believes that the first way is to observe their appearance. If the creature has simply increased in size, it is most likely an alpha creature. If they were edible before, they are most likely edible after the mutation, and the damage to the human body is relatively small. But if there are more bizarre mutations, please be cautious when eating them. For example, a head with dense eyes, a body that is shriveled like a zombie, a smell of decay, several more tentacles, several more legs, a body that emits poisonous gas, etc. Please be cautious when you encounter these species. Zhang Ming was scared. He vaguely suspected that the huge black shadow in the center of the island was a high-level mutant monster. Fortunately, the huge black shadow did not seem to move much and stayed in the center of the island. The second way to distinguish is to observe its special abilities. The more abilities that exceed physical common sense, the more complex the creature is, and the less likely it is to be safely eaten. For example, anti-gravity suspension, weather control, eye laser jets, short-distance space jumps, human body curses, etc. Zhang Ming was shocked to find that there were such abilities. The radio broadcast the next sentence. Of course, the special effects brought by the intake of mysterious elements also depend on the person. The paper points out that the better the physical fitness of humans, the greater the probability of smooth digestion. The first time you swallow the flesh and blood of mutants, there is a 1/10 probability of awakening superpowers. After that, the second and third swallowing, in addition to filing the stomach, There is no obvious benefit. It is necessary to point out that the energy contained in these flesh and blood is significantly higher than that of conventional food. Eating a large amount will bring the risk of indigestion and diarrhea. Zhang Ming frowned. No obvious benefits. It seems that other people can't draw attribute points from the flesh and blood of mutants. My personal ability is very unique. After listening to a lot of broadcasts, the island survivor Lao Zhang thought that he needed to find a new source of food. On the one hand, he was really tired of eating crabs. When he thought of the damn crab meat, his spirit value dropped sharply, his stomach was acidic, and he felt nauseous. Crabs plus coconuts are still too monotonous ingredients and not comprehensive enough in nutrition. On the other hand, the potential of crab meat has been basically squeezed out. In the first week, eating crab meat every day can improve 3-4 points of attributes, and it is improving rapidly every day. In the second week, it is only 2 to 3 points. In the third week, it can only increase 1 point of attribute every day. In the fourth week, it takes 2 days to increase 1 point of attribute. This also proves that eating only the flesh and blood of a mutant creature, becoming the sword god of Shilipo, cannot become infinitely stronger. Even so, the crab alone still increased his attributes by a full 50 points. Therefore, the current attribute panel is physique 70/70, 3.5 times the physique of an ordinary person. It seems to be a little stronger. Perception 50/50, you have clear ears and eyes, as sharp as a cat. Spirit 30/42, you really hate living with crabs. Lifespan 24/30, you are a short-lived ghost, you won't live for a few years, hurry up and think of a way. Total attributes 192, you are really a fighter among rookies. Ability, power burst, activated. Although it is only a fighter among rookies evaluation, Zhang Ming feels that he can fight a little bit. Fighting crabs for a month can be regarded as accumulating some combat experience. If nothing unexpected happens, he may be the strongest human in the world now. Be modest and add one of. Because the radio occasionally broadcasts superpowers on the Earth, but they are actually quite weak. I don't know if it is Zhang Ming's illusion. Just thinking about this, there was a rustling sound in the grass outside. Zhang Ming's ears moved and he distinguished their footsteps. He smiled slightly. It turned out to be a big turtle. Good evening. Night fell, dark clouds covered the sky, and a drizzle began to fall. Turtles gathered in groups near the iron house, calling arwoo arwoo. Because Zhang Ming never hurt them, but fed them some garbage from time to time, these guys became more and more courageous. Every night they came to see if there was anything delicious, and listened to the radio. They were very curious about human technological creations. Why did this thing make a sound? It really puzzled the turtles. Today, a huge turtle with a back as high as a 2-story house came, with a bloody mouth open wide, and wanted to eat the crabs on the fence. New here. Don't eat my fence. If you dare to eat it, I will chop off your turtle tail. After being stopped by Zhang Ming, the giant turtle was frightened and shrank its head innocently, staring with 2 round eyes, indicating that it did nothing. Zhang Ming looked at the group of turtles, each of them looked cunning and sly, and sighed. These turtles are not only spirits, but also live in groups. When can I eat turtle meat? It doesn't need to be too much, just 1 tail will do. Chapter 32 New Food. The radio continued to broadcast today's news. Dear listeners, do you feel lonely and surprised by the changes in the world? Do you feel anxious that humanity will be destroyed? The order of countries is collapsing. At least 80 countries are completely paralyzed and in a state of anarchy. Incomprehensible supernatural phenomena occur frequently, and in the ocean we encounter unspeakable external risks. According to the latest news from Reuters, an ocean-going freighter successfully crossed a mysterious area of the Atlantic and returned to Earth, but all the crew members on it have disappeared. Military personnel investigated the monitoring equipment on the tanker and found that it was a pitch-black 6-clawed creature that killed all the crew members on the ship at a very fast speed. It can easily break a person's neck, its thick scales can resist gunfire, and it only takes 2 seconds to move 100 meters. 100 meters in 2 seconds? Zhang Ming frowned, thinking that this monster might be stronger than himself. Compared to the powerful combat power of mutant life forms, humans are as fragile as saplings. In the pyramid area of North Africa, an unknown terrifying black fog appeared. Once humans approach the black fog, they will become dehydrated and turn into walking zombies. The scope of the black fog is constantly expanding, and the authorities have requested emergency rescue from the International Joint Organization, Russian submarines have discovered a super life form on the edge of the mysterious area of the Arctic Ocean. They are 10,000 meters long and jellyfish sized, with a tonnage far exceeding the largest life form on Earth. It's just that the water in the shallow sea area is too shallow, so these super life forms have not interfered with the survival of humans for the time being. In the Kunlun Mountains of Daksha, a mysterious glow was discovered. Those who witness the glow will fall into coma. After waking up, they described the scene of the end of the world. The living environment of the Earth is becoming harsh. We are being swept and pushed in the torrent of the times. We have no choice but to have no time to stop and breathe. Humans survive in the cracks of the times. The joys and sorrows of individuals are both big and small under the curtain of the times. We always think we are the helmsmen of the times, but in the end we find that the entire human civilization is just a pile of eggs in the mud. Friends, you who are far away, can you imagine the arrival of the supernatural era? Li Xianfang asked a sincere question on the radio. Zhang Ming opened his mouth, but didn't say anything. He just felt the wind and sands from the times blowing on his face, bringing a scraping like pain. Looking back, he found that the turtles were also listening to the radio, and they were opening their mouths in awe, questioning why this thing could make sounds and what they were saying, as if they had some emotions. Turtles are a little smart, but they can't understand human language for the time being. They just listen to the fun and ask for some crab shells to eat. Anyway, they are just greedy. Zhang Ming is actually quite curious about what magical effect crab shells have, so worth the turtles asking for. He also specially ground some powder and ate it for half a month. In the end, he found that it was useless. The body heat flow was only a negligible little bit. Zhang Ming guessed that these turtles were keen on eating crab shells because they lacked certain mineral elements. Their bodies were too big, and the growth of their shells required a lot of minerals, and crab shells just happened to contain a lot of the mineral elements they needed. The newly arrived super large turtle seemed to be talking to a super small turtle, and the roar was so loud that the huge airflow almost blew out the fire. Then, the super small turtle crawled out. It was white all over, like white jade, with complex and delicate patterns on its back, and two black eyes like black pearls. Judging from its size, it was a baby turtle born 1 or 2 years ago, only a little bigger than a fist, but it was the smartest one among this group of turtles. Woo 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 woo. The little white turtle opened its mouth aggressively, trying to express something, and it sounded a little cute and fierce. We don't understand turtle language, speak clearly, Zhang Ming said unhappily, paralyzed in the chair. Arwoo, arwoo, the little white turtle's body swayed non-stop, like a Yanko dance, and it stretched its head forward with all its strength, and raised its claws to make a tickling motion. It looked a bit like a dog. Zhang Ming stretched out a finger, laughing strangely, and tried to clamp its protruding head. The little white turtle quickly retracted its head and screamed more fiercely, Arwoo, you are still excited, right? Are you the king of turtles? Do you want to rule this island? Have you asked for my permission? But generally speaking, he understood some of it. Zhang Ming stood up from the chair and looked at the new large sea turtle. With the flickering light of the fire, he found that there were some barnacles growing on its neck and shell, all of which were only the size of snails. The other turtles kept rubbing these hard barnacles with their mouths, but their mouths were too clumsy to bite such small things. You want me to remove these barnacles? New food and attribute points came. Zhang Ming was surprised and happy, recalling the wonderful taste of stir-fried snails, and kept swallowing saliva. Ah, the little white turtle jumped up excitedly. Zhang Ming touched the cool and smooth skin of the super large turtle and found that the other party was quite cooperative and motionless. Don't move, I can help you. The super large turtle was still a little reluctant and timid. The name barnacle sounds like a plant, but it is actually a parasite of shellfish. They attach to turtles through the mucus secreted by their mesh tentacles, affecting the turtles swimming, and sometimes they drill into the skin, causing pain to the turtles. In online videos, you can often see scenes of humans rescuing turtles at sea. Now I actually encountered it. This experience is quite novel and interesting. Zhang Ming took out a bone knife made of crab's pointed feet. Actually he was reluctant to use a metal knife, roasted it on the fire, and disinfected it. The super large turtle stared at the bone knife with its black eyes, and wanted to shrink its head and run away. But the little white turtle roared, and the giant turtle could only force itself to stretch out its neck in fear. Zhang Ming scolded, you are so big, but you are so timid. Look at your strong body, you may weigh tens or hundreds of tons, you can crush me to death in one go? What are you afraid of? There was a light crack. The snail-sized barnacle was pulled out by the roots, with a trace of bright red blood. The giant turtle felt a sharp pain in its neck, and its mouth opened wide, but its body was very honest, crawling there motionless. Its mouth was open all the time, and its black eyes saw the barnacle in Zhang Ming's hand. The turtles were immediately shocked. Their natural enemies were defeated so easily. One by one, they opened their mouths in shock and looked at the smallest king of turtles. "Ah woo woo," the little white turtle shouted triumphantly, rolling on the ground in ecstasy, and its tail almost lifted up to the sky. It seemed to be saying, "I said this strange guy has a way to remove the barnacles, you still don't believe it. If it weren't for me, it would still have to endure the torture of barnacles. You all have to thank me." "Ah woo, woo," the turtles all agreed with its genius and great wisdom, and confirmed the identity of the little white turtle as the king of turtles. "Why are you looking at it? Shouldn't you thank me? Isn't it me who is doing the work?" Zhang Ming spat. He threw away the barnacles in his hand and was about to get the next one. He found that a sea turtle was trying to steal his spoils. He kicked the thief's head with a kick. "Mine, mine," he pointed at the sea turtle and shouted, "I won't give it to you, you can't take it." The sea turtle didn't understand. But after being kicked, it immediately shrank its head. However, another thief turtle appeared, looking around. So we simply gave up, guarding our spoils, and kicked them one by one with a Foshan shadowless kick. However, these thieves were thick-skinned and had amazing defensive capabilities. Zhang Ming couldn't use his full strength, and it turned into a tug-of-war for a while. Finally, the giant sea turtle that was parasitized by barnacles got anxious. It was still being tortured by barnacles. "Ah!" the giant turtle roared and stopped the chaos. "Rules are very important, understand? Without rules, there is no order," Zhang Ming taught earnestly and took a suitcase and threw the removed barnacles into the box one by one. These sea turtles are really an intelligent species. They may have formed their own language, and they also know that the lives of their companions are more important than their own appetites. They stayed in place honestly, watching the barnacles in the box accumulate more and more, and finally piled up into a small mountain. After half an hour of busy work, it was completely dark and the radio stopped playing. The barnacles on the neck of the giant turtle were picked clean, free of disease and light, and the huge body twisted happily and called out gratefully, and the huge body almost crushed a fire. And Zhang Ming also harvested more than 10 pounds of barnacles, and scooped some seawater with satisfaction and kept them in the suitcase. "I wonder how this thing tastes? Will it bring attribute points and new abilities?" He grilled one over a charcoal fire and carefully stuffed it into his mouth. To be honest, without all kinds of seasonings, it's not very delicious just grilled like this. The fishy smell of seawater is very strong, and I also ate some impurities such as mud and algae, which is a bit disgusting. But the body heat flow it brings is very obvious, much more than crab meat. As for new abilities, there are none for the time being, probably because the intake is not enough. Zhang Ming was delighted. Tomorrow's food is settled. But they have to soak for a day to let them poop out the things in their stomachs. "Do you know the monster on the island? That guy is a big threat to me. Do you have any relevant information?" Zhang Ming took out a pen and paper and drew a dark shadow-like creature. He also made a few gestures, indicating that it was very big, even bigger than the super-large turtle. "From the broadcast, I learned that the mysterious area is very dangerous and full of monsters. Many human teams that were also trapped in the mysterious area have died. After these human teams died, disasters often broke out on the earth, which made Zhang Ming very stressed. He hid here and ate crab meat for a month, and he was almost going crazy. But this deserted island was a little too quiet. He had been here for a month, and there was nothing special except a mysterious unknown in the center of the island. Why? It is obvious that there may be some huge risks hidden here. Huge. If we use animal theory to describe it, it is territory. An extremely powerful existence occupied this deserted island. All creatures on the deserted island are within its territory and are the objects of its hunting at will. So no other monsters came here. Once this idea came into being, it was really uneasy. If these smart turtles could reveal some information, it might be possible to avoid it. The other turtles looked at the barnacles eagerly, and the not-so-smart ones only had the smallest white turtle rushing over and holding Zhang Ming's shoelaces. "Oh, do you know something?" The little white turtle held the pen with its two front paws, and because its claws were not very flexible, it drew some crooked ghostly symbols. The general meaning should be, there are some squares in the center of the deserted island? What does it mean? Squares. The little white turtle spread his head and glanced at the tin house again. Same squares as my tin house. Zhang Ming was shocked and felt a little puzzled. There is a house in the center of the island? What does it mean? He didn't know if he had misunderstood the meaning. This news is a bit important. Then, the little white turtle discovered the beauty of painting and scribbled happily. It drew a turtle, 2 turtles, and 3 turtles. Zhang Ming, with a hint of doubt, kept this information in mind and watched the white turtle draw. Is this the wisdom brought by mutation? They already have a rough language. With just a little opportunity, they can learn to paint and write. In the near future, it is not impossible to evolve into a truly intelligent civilization. Of course, this group of turtles is still a little stupid. As a species living in the sea, it is difficult for them to control the use of fire and smelt metals. This may be a natural limitation. But besides turtles, are there any smarter species in the world? For example, mutant monkeys and mutant gorillas? What will happen if these smart species meet human civilization? What if there are races stronger than humans in the mysterious area? Zhang Ming was silent, riding on a turtle, fully enjoying the magical pleasure of enslaving primitive civilization. Because you haven't grown up yet, I'll bully you first. The turtle being ridden was also very excited, jumping around the fire. This life is like a savage, like a hermit. Away from the city, away from the countryside, away from everything. It seems like there's nothing left. After a while of making a fuss, Zhang Ming snatched back the precious ballpoint pen. If you want to draw, just find a branch and draw. Don't use my pen. Let's go. It's time to go to bed. P.S. 2-in-1. Chapter 33 Mysterious Area Investigation. Watching the turtles walk towards the beach, Zhang Ming waved and returned to his tin house. His work and rest schedule is very healthy. In the days without electricity, he works from sunrise to sunset, just like the ancient people. In an era without young ladies, electronic games, anime, novels, RNG, quarrels, and nothing, one can only go to bed early. Zhang Ming finally understood why the old men and women in the community would nag at their dogs. Xiaobei, your mother taught you not to poop on the ground. You have to walk on the sidewalk when crossing the road, otherwise you will be hit to death. Xiaohei, come to your mother quickly. Are you cold? Put on some clothes. Xiaohei, how can you eat shit? Your mother taught you not to eat shit. I thought these aunts and uncles were sick in the head, but now I understand that it is deep loneliness. Sleep, sleep. Zhang Ming knocked on his head and fell asleep. The edge of the Pacific Ocean, the border with a mysterious area. A large-scale scientific expedition has officially begun. Tomorrow's weather forecast: north to northeast wind level 6, gusts level 7, minimum temperature 17, maximum temperature 28, wave height 3.5 meters, visibility 10 kilometers. Li Xianfeng stood in the observation room of a 100,000-ton giant military ship, holding a telescope and looking into the distance. There are a total of 26 warships and scientific research ships around, carrying 10,000 soldiers and 3,000 experts from all walks of life. Survey object: the mysterious area of the Pacific Ocean. These few surveys have not been very smooth. Li Xianfeng breathed a sigh of relief after reading the report, but it's nothing. Everything is difficult at the beginning. The color of the seawater in the mysterious area is very different from that of the Pacific Ocean. The seawater in the mysterious area is blue with black, which gives people a sense of depression and dullness. On the report in Li Xianfeng's hand, it was written in black and white: once you enter the mysterious area, you will see the blackness like hell, a sense of uneasiness like the abyss, the loss of leaving your hometown, inexplicably wanting to return to the earth, like a child leaving his parents. These psychological reports were all submitted by Special Forces soldiers who were selected from thousands of miles away. The water of the Pacific Ocean is azure blue, and occasionally fish jump out of the water, filled with the familiar breath of life. At the junction 30 kilometers away, the two colors of black and blue and azure are clearly divided, like the boundary river in chess. The dragon-like dividing line stretches for thousands of miles, embellishing the sky, and has been introduced into the obscure fog. The mysterious area is within reach. Once the investigation team enters the blue-black sea area, they will lose their way at a very fast speed. Their psychological feelings are not aimless, Wang Yuhang from the Special Affairs Department explained. Several batches of drones and unmanned submarines have disappeared. Our special forces have also risked entering several batches, but they have only explored briefly through ropes and dared not go too deep. These team members have more or less experienced some stress reactions, as shown in the report. Li Xianfeng asked calmly. The mysterious area currently explored has almost nothing except seawater and some marine life. Wang Yuheng said, well, there are no islands or continents, but a small number of fish have been found, which are types that have never been found on Earth. This shows that there are marine life in the mysterious area. How big is the mysterious area? Have you found any risks? No danger has been found. As for how big it is, we can't say. Li Xianfeng sat in his seat, frowning, not very satisfied with the current investigation results. After so many days, this is all? An expert with gray hair quickly explained, because of the curvature of the planet, coupled with various gray fogs that are difficult to penetrate, the radius of radar search is quite limited, so we plan to launch a satellite. As long as the satellite can be launched successfully, the island where Zhang Ming is located will definitely be exposed, and with satellite positioning, many problems can be easily solved. It is still necessary to rescue the trapped comrade Zhang Ming. If Zhang Ming dies in the mysterious area and is implicated in a natural disaster in Daxia, the loss will really be horrifying. Of the original 16 surviving teams in the mysterious area, 13 died in just 1 month. The death rate is amazing. The scenes are even more bizarre. Some were killed by monsters, some suddenly went crazy and jumped into the sea, and some suddenly sank overnight. But the same thing is that after these people died, natural disasters broke out in their home countries immediately. An earthquake of magnitude 8-9 is considered a basic standard, and there may be a volcanic eruption and a big tornado. Now there are only 3 mirages left in the finals. Number 1 is the luxury cruise ship carrying 3,000 passengers. Due to the large number of people, it is barely stable and miraculously has not encountered too much risk. The second is number 13, the Arctic Ocean Expedition Team. The third is number 16, Comrade Zhang Ming, who challenged the isolated island alone. Number 16 is still alive. A month ago, this result might be shocking. But now, there are no more people who are passionately arguing on the internet. All parts of the world have been plowed by natural disasters, and there are fewer and fewer places where you can surf the internet safely. There are only a few extreme trolls who are tirelessly repeating. No matter what, the launch of the rocket must be successful. After a month of modification, their ship can barely launch a small rocket. Of course, there is only one chance. Lali, there is a satellite call from the other side of the Pacific Ocean, saying that there is something I want to talk to you about. I know. Li Xianfeng took the call without any surprise. A familiar voice came from the microphone, speaking fluent Chinese. Hello, Mr. Li, how are you these days? Hello, Professor Peter, Li Xianfeng said. I'm in good health, but I've been hit by Mother Earth one after another, and I'm almost brain dead. Alice, who isn't? But as long as the one on the 16th doesn't die, Daxia will not suffer serious damage, right? Professor Peter Greer of parapsychology is a well-known researcher in the industry. When he was young, he visited famous mountains and historical sites in Southeast Asia, Daxia, Fuzhou, India, South America and other regions to seek traces of supernatural signs, and wrote a 1,000,000-word masterpiece, The Supernatural History of the Earth. Supernatural phenomena do not appear suddenly for no reason. It seems to follow some special historical laws. In the thousands of years of human history, there are ups and downs. But in the past, even at the peak stage, there may be only a dozen people with superpowers born in a century. At the low point, there is no superpower in a century. Therefore, Peter Greer's academic research has become particularly valuable after the outbreak of the supernatural era. Chapter 34, Follow-up Investigation of Paranormal Phenomena. What do you mean? Li Xianfeng frowned and asked. Of course it's cooperation. You should send a satellite, right? Information can be shared. Cooperation will not bring losses to both of us. Repeating the wheel will only waste our costs. Now everyone's life is very difficult. Why don't we unite with each other to study the mysterious area together and save the survivors of the 3 teams? We also want to get the corresponding data for tomorrow's satellite survey. Li Xianfeng remained silent. Professor Peter continued, if you agree to cooperate, in order to show our sincerity, you will be able to get some research data provided by us. If you don't want to, don't force it. May our friendship last forever. Li Xianfeng pondered for a moment. The hostile forces on your side are not small. Can they suppress the opposition? Mr. Li, this is a different time. The hostility in the past does not represent the present, Professor Peter said slowly on the phone. Anyway, We are separated by the Pacific Ocean. It is impossible for us to go to war directly, right? We have enough living space for each other. There is no point in going to war. Li Xianfeng reported the cooperation proposal to the upper level. After a while, an old man's voice came, "We can cooperate. The current world situation is changing rapidly. Seizing every opportunity and strengthening ourselves is the hard truth." After reaching an agreement, the intelligence sent from the other side of the Pacific Ocean was sent to the computer via satellite. Follow-up investigation on supernatural phenomena in Hawaii. Li Xianfeng took a deep breath. Just by looking at the title, he knew that this file was very important. The closer to the mysterious area, the greater the probability of the birth of mutant creatures and the acquisition of superpowers. Although the Hawaiian area was plowed by the tsunami, as the place closest to the mysterious area of the Pacific Ocean, it naturally became the best research site. Many experts flipped through it for a while, discussing with surprise, and the room was bustling. This file has a total of 3 conclusions. First, after investigation, the American expert group believes that the probability of humans having superpowers is not small, at least 10%, but some people find it difficult to activate, while others can activate it easily. Through big data analysis, physical abilities account for more than 95% of various abilities, and other strange abilities, including invisibility, fire breathing, discharge, dreaming, etc., account for the remaining 5%. It's similar to our research results. It's just that their data is more detailed and the amount of data is larger, but the emergence of superpowers doesn't have much significance except increasing the cost of social governance. Can you be stronger than an excavator? Are superpowers willing to be bricklayers? These experts discussed. Not necessarily. Some people with particularly smart minds are suitable for scientific research. People with clever hands and feet are more suitable for holding guns. What's more, with the frequent occurrence of disasters, human productivity is declining significantly. At that time, the cost of guns and cannons will be too high. In order to save costs, we can only send soldiers to fight hand to hand. It is more appropriate to let superpowers take on professions such as police and soldiers. When talking about this topic, everyone sighed slightly. Nowadays, the economy is paralyzed and the industrial chain has collapsed. The Great Xia Kingdom follows a strict Changping warehouse system, with sufficient food reserves, and people are not starving to death. There is no way to count how many people have died in the outside world, and they can only be left to fend for themselves. At this moment, the Malthusian trap made humans deeply aware of the harshness of nature. What makes people even more desperate is that the current situation is still good, and every day in the future will get worse. Their generation has experienced a prosperous era. Even if this prosperous era is not perfect, it is still the most peaceful period in human history. But when the next generation opens their eyes, they will only see huge ruins. Electronic products of the old era are luxury goods in their eyes, and novels, animations, and televisions of the old era are their treasures. They have to fight poverty, war and disease throughout their lives. Maybe there will be no next generation, and there will be no children at all. Under the current situation, who will have children? Will the fertility rate be 1 in 1,000? A young researcher shook his head helplessly. The fertility rate of Daksha was not high to begin with. Now that the disaster has come, will the fertility rate rise? Of course not. Even if there is no mortgage, but life is not good, who would be willing to have children? Academician Jack, with gray hair, sneered, "Why rush? There were only 2,000 people in the Ice Age, but didn't the human race continue? Besides, having children is a population demand and a social demand. In the past, society had huge redundancy, so it allowed a small number of people to be dinks. If most people are dinks, the population will be so small that it will affect the operation of society. Then human society will spontaneously evolve into a corresponding moral system to punish those dinks. Do you think that human beings are really true, kind, and beautiful? This is true. In Fuso, the country with the most serious aging population, the best way to solve the aging problem is to let the elderly commit seppuku and the elderly work until they are 70 years old. This means that social morality is not immutable, and morality exists only for the stability of society. If society is unstable, then change morality. Okay, everyone knows that the future is bleak, but the important thing is the road ahead. Pessimists are always right, and optimists can win the future. Comrade Zhang Ming from District 16 is still alive and strong. What do you have to sigh about? As for the issue of fertility, I suggest that everyone have at least one child. Li Xianfeng cleared his throat. Continue to read the files. The second conclusion of this report, eating the flesh and blood of mutants has a chance to activate the superpowers of ordinary people. Of course, the expert team of Daksha country already knows this. Even some small experiments have been done. Why? Because Zhang Ming, a young man from the mysterious area number 16, once wrote a line of text on the beach, "Eating crab meat will make you stronger." The subtext of this is this meaning. Even if the number of mutants is relatively rare, it is enough to gather the strength of the whole country and do some experiments. The probability of activating superpowers is not too high. Professional athletes have a slightly higher probability, about 1 in 10. And ordinary people have a slightly lower probability, about 1 in 20th. Compared with the preciousness of mutants, this experiment is quite unprofitable. We should still pay attention to the information Zhang Ming gave us. Li Xianfeng rubbed his temples and promised the surrounding experts with a smile that he would take the report sent by the Americans and ask his superiors for more funds to do more experiments. At least we can't do fewer experiments than the Americans, right? Everyone in the room laughed. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 35, Exploring the Deserted Island. In this report, there is a third conclusion, that people with superpowers can become stronger through a special cultivation method. But this conclusion was inferred by a team of experts from ancient documents in the United States. Assuming that there were indeed some superpowers in ancient times, could they only become stronger by eating the flesh and blood of mutants? The probability of this happening is very small, because there may not be many mutants in ancient times, at least there was no mysterious area in ancient times. Therefore, Professor Peter firmly believes that there is an ancient way that can only be understood, not explained, and difficult to write, which can continuously enhance one's own abilities. However, to date, no one knows what this cultivation method is. Hey, eating the flesh of mutants can only activate superpowers, but there is no way to continuously enhance them, and the price is too expensive. Now the price of a kilogram of mutant flesh and blood is hundreds of millions or even billions. Unless a large fleet is organized to go to the mysterious area to fish, the price can be reduced. But is the mysterious area a place where you can go whenever you want? What you said is that there is a way to practice, which is indeed very important. The arrival of the era of superpowers makes people look forward to it, but also confused. It seems that humans have returned to the foggy, slash and burn era, surrounded by inky black fog. Every step of exploration is full of crises and challenges. One step in the wrong direction will usher in real extinction. Even the entire race will face a huge crisis. However, in the fog, there are countless secrets and treasures waiting for humans to dig. They are the pioneers of the times, and they have not even taken the first step. Their task is very arduous. After a while of discussion, many experts believe that this file is quite sincere, filling the gaps in the current research of Daksha and filling a lot of data. Li Xianfeng ordered, in this case, it doesn't matter if we send them a copy of the data collected by the satellite. Everyone, make the final preparations to ensure that tomorrow's launch is foolproof. Yes, after waking up, I feel refreshed. The big turtles have left. They like to forage in the ocean during the day, and only come to listen to the radio and beg for some snacks in the evening. There are very few land animals on this island. Apart from Zhang Ming himself, there are only some fierce seabirds. Zhang Ming took a dried crab and nibbled it randomly. He also ate some coconut meat, which solved a breakfast problem. He checked the barnacles collected last night and found that they had spit out a lot of mud. These barnacles can only be eaten for 1 or 2 days. It's hard to increase my attributes with crab meat. I have to find new mutants. It would be best if I could find seasonings. The days without seasonings are too painful. Looking at the golden sun and the blue sea, Zhang Ming was eager to have a good meal. Long-term loneliness and anxiety lingered in his mind. He was eager to return to the civilized world. Especially since he didn't know whether the damn rescue team existed or when they would set off. All he had to do was wait helplessly. He had to improve his restless reason through the civilized society's lifestyle. And having a good meal was naturally part of the civilized society. After thinking for a while, Zhang Ming decided to explore the deserted island a little. Of course, if we can find new ingredients just by searching along the beach, it can be regarded as solving the urgent problem. As for the terrifying center of the island, it is better to keep out of each other's way. Don't go there to get killed. Thinking of this, Zhang Ming picked up the crab spear, put on a large backpack, and went to the beach. The skeleton of the crash plane, after being exposed to the wind and sun, showed some traces of rust. It has only been a short month, and the erosion of time has changed a lot. A large part of the metal was dismantled by Zhang Ming to make a tin hut. Almost all that could be dismantled was dismantled, including the internal electromechanical things, which were also dismantled and moved back. Search carefully on the beach. Picked up a small crab, let it go. Picked up a few small shells, mosquito meat is also meat, accept it. Picked up a piece of scale, which may be some kind of fish scale, which is as big as a palm and glows with a dark luster in the sun. Accept it and prepare to cook it. What if I can gain attribute points? Picked up 2 water plants, tasted them carefully, not toxic, accept them. Found a few jelly-like things slowly wriggling, maybe jellyfish, most likely poisonous, retreat. Picked up a hard stone. Picked up. The life of picking up garbage is really simple and unpretentious. 2 kilometers west along the beach is the mud flat where big crabs live. As the largest overlord in the area, crabs live a very comfortable life, and you can hear a sharp beep beep from a distance. Zhang Ming didn't want to provoke them, because thinking of crab meat, spirit value 1, 1, 1. He just picked up some water plants and prepared to take them back and cook them. Going forward 10 kilometers, there is a rocky slope. Because it is facing the sun, the plants are sparse and not dense. There are quite a lot of caves and corals under the high slope, inhabited by a variety of aquatic species. The terrain of this island is magnificent and unique, and it doesn't seem to be formed by volcanic eruptions, because volcanic eruptions mostly form basalt, while the stones on the island are mostly granite and slate. Therefore, the formation of this island is an unsolved mystery. He also had no ability to explore the bay. The seawater here was too deep. He was not good at swimming. The appearance of any mutant life could cost him his life. 6 foot 7 kilometers further forward, about 20 kilometers from the camp, was a mangrove forest, an unknown area that he had never explored in depth. The thick white fog gradually dissipated under the sunlight, and giant birds occasionally flew over the blue sky. The view today is not bad, suitable for exploration. The plants in the mangrove forest are more primitive. Most of the trees are abnormally tall, with twisting branches spreading everywhere, and some short bushes survive in the cracks. The whole world seemed to be left with only crisp green and withered yellow. The terrain here is low and is often flooded by seawater, so the plants will grow long aerial roots from the roots and expose them to the beach ground to meet their needs for air. Zhang Ming held the spear, tensed his nerves, and moved slowly along the roots of the plants. Mosquitoes and green-headed flies were buzzing in his ears. Even if humans became extinct, these annoying creatures could still survive in the world. The probability of insect mutation is really small, but it is not ruled out that there are few mutants, and one bite of them can kill me. I just came here to collect some seasonings. If I can find a sago tree, it would be even better. The sago tree is a special palm tree in tropical areas. Its heart can extract a large amount of edible starch, commonly known as sago powder, which is widely used in bubble milk tea. With starch, noodles, cakes, buns and other foods can be cooked. Chapter 36, The Fighter Among Rookies. Please give me a sago tree. Zhang Ming wanted to eat the preserved vegetable pancakes from his hometown, and his saliva flew all over his body. He smeared mud on his body to avoid mosquito bites, silently collected various strange plants, and at the same time, he was wary of the movements around him. There were still no land animals. He saw a few sea snakes, and found a lot of fish in the sea. He didn't dare to hunt casually in an unfamiliar place. Suddenly, his heart beat heavily. He found a fiery red toad squatting on the roots of the tree. Quack! The bright red skin and the 2 protruding huge eyeballs showed that it was not a creature that was easy to provoke. The 4 words "Don't mess with me" were almost written on its face. In particular, the size of this toad was as huge as ever, even taller than him. Quack! The fiery red tongue stretched out dozens of meters and easily pierced a fish in the sea. When a toad is bigger than a human being and its tongue is about 20 meters long, the Earth Overlord Terrible Upright Ape feels stressed, his legs are shaking, and he just wants to run away. Fortunately, I am more cautious and didn't make too much noise. Zhang Ming held his breath and clenched the spear in his hand. He was not sure whether the other party had discovered him, and he didn't dare to turn his back to the enemy. Step by step, he quietly moved backwards. The toad seemed to have sensed the threat around him and was a little irritated. His huge cheeks bulged from time to time, and his retreating muscles were straightened, no longer hunting fish. Don't worry, theoretically toads don't have static vision, don't worry, Zhang Ming slowly retreated, feeling that his palms began to sweat. After confronting the toad for more than 10 minutes, the toad finally couldn't bear it anymore and jumped up with a bang. This jump was 40 meters high as a 10-story building. However, the toad did not jump in the direction of Zhang Ming, it seemed to want to escape in a hurry. At this instant, a golden lightning bolt shot out from another direction, splitting the air and fiercely striking the red toad. Squeak, a hot and pungent smell of burning filled the air. The free plasma made Zhang Ming's hair stand up one by one. His pupils dilated and he looked into the distance in disbelief. After the red toad was struck by lightning, its skin was already in the shape of charcoal and fell in midair. A huge eel jumped out of the water, its layers of scales reflecting a golden luster in the sun, and its huge wild body danced wildly in the air. With a graceful parabola, the golden eel caught the red toad falling in midair. Finally, it dived back into the water with a splash. The mangroves calmed down again. No one had ever thought that there had been a battle between mutant life forms here. It took 1 second. Zhang Ming witnessed this battle with his own eyes and stayed where he was, motionless. It took several minutes to recover. With a wry smile, it turns out that the red toad is confronting the golden eel. I was just being sentimental. Zhang Ming deeply felt what it meant to be a fighter among novices. This mangrove forest was an advanced copy. The battle between these mutant lives was simply a fight between gods. They jumped dozens of meters, and the superpower battles such as lightning and long tongues were dazzling. The winner was decided in an instant. But, he really wanted to eat that toad and that eel. The power of high-voltage electricity is really too strong. If I had such an ability, my chance of survival would be greatly improved. Zhang Ming quietly retreated from the mangrove forest, sweating profusely, but eager to try, and excited. A brand new world opened up in front of him. He didn't want the sago tree anymore, and he was thinking about how to kill the golden eel and gain its ability. The reason why humans jump to the top of the food chain on Earth is that they have a higher level of wisdom than other creatures and have learned to use tools. Relying on brute force is not advisable. Zhang Ming quickly thought of several interesting ideas, but he only has one life, so he must be cautious and not take risks. I'll think of a way when I go back. Before leaving, he scraped some bark and roots and collected a lot of unknown plants. Maybe there are seasonings among them. The guy from Mirage 16 has entered the jungle. The whole country was in a state of panic. The guy from District 16, who had been hiding for a month, once again made a confusing move. Even Li Xianfeng and others who were originally going to launch a satellite slowed down their pace and stared at Mirage 16. Why did he enter the mangrove forest? Did he suffer the temptation of some monster? Impossible. 13 of the 16 teams in Mirage have died. In this case, Li Xianfeng and his team couldn't help but worry, and even their hair stood up. What's going on? His food reserves should be abundant. Phone calls kept coming and going, and a large number of psychologists analyzed Zhang Ming's behavior through various clues. The final conclusion is loneliness. Human needs are advanced layer by layer. There is food, water, and shelters. So in the following days, will he hide in the shelter all day long and do nothing, without any entertainment, and sleep when he is full? Of course not. So, he may want to find some food and live a more civilized and comfortable life. When analyzing this result, Li Xianfeng was barely relieved. He could understand Zhang Ming's approach, but he was a little anxious. In the end, he could only barely comfort himself. It's good that he didn't go crazy. Mirage is not a full-range and blind-angle surveillance. It is like a fixed camera looking from a distance. There are many details that cannot be seen. As for what happened in the jungle, it is really unknown. It was not until 3 hours later that people saw Zhang Ming reappear in the field of vision with mud all over his face and his whole body soaked. He kept picking various plants along the way, and they were greatly relieved. As for the domestic followers, they also launched a small wave of discussion on the internet. So he went to collect plants. Isn't it good to eat crabs and coconuts? Maybe he's going to vomit because he's eating so much. Who can afford to eat them every day? But crabs are so expensive now. Hundreds of dollars per pound. I can't afford them at all. Come on, he's eating mutant life. 1 pound costs 100 million yuan on the black market. There's no market for them. When people all over the country saw that the guy from District 16 was alive and well and not injured, they immediately lost interest and went back to their homes. The foodies even started discussing it enthusiastically, turning District 16 into a food show. I'd like to see what other delicious food there is on the island. It's quite a sense of accomplishment to see him making coconut sugar every day. I want to see him eat, too. Even insects are fine. Chapter 37 Rocket Launch. Minister, should we continue the rocket launch? Zhang Ming's entry into the mangrove forest shouldn't delay the launch. Li Xianfang checked the weather indicators on the big screen and nodded slightly. Go ahead. The mysterious area is not the same space as here. As long as the current wind is not strong, we can launch. Everyone, are you ready? Ready. Just like that, the 100,000-ton large warship started its engine, carrying a small rocket, and slowly sailed into the mysterious area. There was also a thick steel rope tied behind the warship, connecting several large ships outside. In this way, it can be guaranteed that the ship entering the mysterious area will not get lost in the mysterious area. The process of this large ship entering the mysterious area was like passing through a thin layer of soap bubbles, causing waves and ripples in the space. The sunlight emitted a strange refraction phenomenon, and even the temperature dropped by 2 or 3 degrees. Everywhere you look, there is a dead sea with blue and the black. It is empty and lonely. It seems to be facing a magnificent and boundless primitive world. A strong sense of uneasiness came from all directions, and the psychological phenomenon described in the investigation report appeared. Everyone had a sense of loneliness of wanderers leaving their homes, which was so strong and distressing that if one's will was not strong enough, one might burst into tears on the spot. As time passed, humans might get used to this loneliness, but this feeling of loss would not disappear, but would only accumulate. A special space phenomenon. If there was no rope, it would be easy to get lost and unable to find the original path. Li Xianfang took a deep breath and suppressed the uneasiness in his heart. Looking in the direction of the steel rope, this long rope was hanging in the air, and the other end seemed to have disappeared. In the mysterious area, the existence of the Earth could not be observed. Of course, the Earth was not missing. The other end of the rope was still tied to the Earth. If you return along the original route of the rope, you can indeed penetrate that layer of space ripples again and return to the Earth. What is the principle of this strange space mechanism? Li Xianfang couldn't help asking. A professor explained, it is not clear yet. The current knowledge of physics cannot explain it. According to some idealistic sayings, the Earth may be deliberately hiding itself. We are the children of the Earth. If we leave the world, we will naturally feel lonely and homesick. The Earth hides itself. It's just a saying. Li Xianfang did not dwell too much on the unclear things. He said a few words on the communication channel in the headset. Comrades, according to the American investigation report, after arriving in the mysterious area, there is about a 1 in 10 probability of awakening superpowers. Everyone should also know that the quota for awakening superpowers is very precious. If you find that your body temperature is increased, your heart rate is accelerated, your breathing is rapid, and you feel chest tightness and shortness of breath, it may be a sign of awakening superpowers. Please go to the bedroom to rest immediately, and report the abilities you have gained. Always observe the movements around you. If there is a problem, we will return to Earth at any time. If there is no accident, prepare to launch the rocket. Countdown. Half an hour. In the quiet waiting, 30 minutes seemed a bit torturous. Most people came to the mysterious area for the first time. They were very curious and wanted to know where Zhang Ming was trapped. But they did not dare to slack off for a moment. In the temporary command center, only the tapping sound of the keyboard could be heard. People were making final preparations. When the time came, Li Xianfang loudly issued the ignition command. With a loud boom, a powerful white-hot flame sprayed into the deck cooling pool, stirring up a large amount of white mist. The rocket continued to rise upward, and the whole sky was filled with a huge roar. Program turn. Spacecraft bidirectional capture. Telemetry signal is normal. Optical USB radar tracking is normal. Optical radar tracking is normal. Watching the bright white light in the sky gradually fade away, Li Xianfang's heart beat faster. Now the industrial capacity of the entire country has been greatly reduced. If this rocket fails to launch, it will be even more difficult to produce the next one in a short time. He couldn't help but ask a white-haired old man, "Academician Jack, how is the rocket? Can it enter the atmosphere of the mysterious area?" The engineering academician stared at the screen with a bad face and said nothing. Suddenly, he said. The rocket's flight speed is lower than expected. The cold sweat on Li Xianfeng's forehead suddenly appeared. The friction resistance during the ascent exceeded expectations. A large number of staff around were also busy, and the sound of keyboards clacking could be heard in the room. Teacher Jack, Li Xianfeng asked again. Academician Jack, who had a bad temper, had a gloomy face. To tell you the truth, the situation is not good. The atmospheric pressure of the Earth decreases with the increase of altitude, but the thickness of the atmosphere here is strange and seems to be evenly distributed. The friction is too great, the rocket can't rise, and there seems to be a huge gust of wind in the sky. Academician Jeff frowned and calculated several times in a row. You mean, the rocket has risen hundreds of kilometers and has not yet left the atmosphere? Li Xianfeng's face also became ugly. Yes, this possibility is very high. God knows how thick the atmosphere is in this place, probably tens of thousands of kilometers. This rocket is just a small carrier rocket, which can only send low-orbit satellites. Now the rocket has not even left the atmosphere. It will soon fall from the sky after the fuel is exhausted. The cold sweat on Li Xianfeng's forehead fell to the ground. What you fear is really what will happen. The satellite launch failed. Academician Jess stroked the white hair at his temples. There is only one choice in the current situation. Start the various functions of the satellite as soon as possible and collect as much information as possible. Don't think about the launch being successful. The satellite will definitely crash. There was no time to hesitate. Li Xianfeng gritted his teeth. Just do as Academician Jess said, turn on the various detection functions of the satellite, and prepare to throw the fairing. Collect as much data as possible. The fairing is a device located on the top of the carrier rocket to protect the spacecraft from rectification and heat insulation when flying in the atmosphere. Once the rocket rushes out of the atmosphere, there is no air and no air friction. So there is no need for rectification and heat insulation. But now an abnormal situation has occurred. After the fairing is thrown away, friction with the air will generate heat, and the satellite will not be able to hold on for too long. After a few seconds, or tens of seconds, the satellite will burn and crash. How long can the rocket fly? Li Xianfeng glanced at the big screen, and various abnormal data were about to overflow. In 10 seconds, the fuel will be exhausted. There is no time. Throw away the fairing immediately. After the fairing was thrown away, the satellite detection equipment was fully turned on, and the appearance of the mysterious area was in full view. Chapter 38 The Grave of the World. A small meteor appeared in the sky above the mysterious area. Even though its lifespan was quite short, it was the first time in human history. At this moment, everyone held their breath, as if they had turned into a satellite, looking out from the sky. A glimpse from a high altitude outlined the majestic vastness and a strange corner of the mysterious area. Above the huge ocean with the blue and black, the thick curtain-like clouds in the distance seemed to be opened by an invisible hand. The golden sun looked down at all living things, but still could not illuminate the dark sea as obscure as the abyss. What kind of world is that? A silent cemetery. Everything sank into the tranquility of the ancient wilderness, and even the endless waves froze quietly here. What is buried in the cemetery is not a living thing. It is the world, history, and civilization. It was buried in the bottom layer of the sea for 2.1 billion years in the Archean period. It was buried in the middle layer of the deep sea for 1.83 billion years in the Sinian period, 300 million years in the Paleozoic era, and 160 million years in the Mesozoic era. Finally, the Cenozoic era lasted for 70 million years. When humans finally arrived, while humans were still playing with the soil, the times had already changed like fireworks. Countless stories began and countless stories ended. But now, the short Cenozoic era is also coming to an end. It will also be buried here. Li Xianfeng's heart beat a few times, and he suddenly felt a strong sense of grief, but he couldn't tell what it was. This sadness filled the entire control room, so much so that some young people couldn't help but start to shed tears. He persisted and gritted his teeth to prevent himself from losing control of his emotions. The satellite images continued. This world has almost no arc, or the arc of this world is too small, so small that it is difficult to distinguish with the naked eye. Even if the rocket's ascent height does not reach the expected height, it is more than 100 kilometers. If you look down from the sky above the Earth, you can clearly see the boundary between the Earth's atmosphere and the universe. Here, there is almost no arc. The map seemed flat. The sun rose in the east and set in the west year after year, day after day, as if an infinite halo flowed out from the sun and sprinkled on this dying world. Against the background of the interweaving of light streams, people recalled an ancient term, geocentrism. Once upon a time, humans believed that the Earth was the center of the universe and everything in the world revolved around the Earth. With the development of the times, humans realized the error of this statement. The Earth is just an ordinary planet and an insignificant part of the universe. But for some reason, this group of people in the mysterious area once again had a similar idea. This may be the center of all things and the end of history. In the more distant area, there was almost endless gray-black clouds. Looking down from a high vantage point, except for the ship they were on, they only saw this blue and black ocean extending infinitely outward, without islands or life. The sea is dead, without waves or ocean currents. Emotions that cannot be described in words lingered in my heart. Perhaps, there are more and more parallel worlds here. The final destination of the Earth will also be this world if there is no human base behind it. A lonely ship sailing in the endless sea of silence will also seem too lonely. Before everyone could analyze too much, the satellite image disappeared abruptly. The satellite burned up and was falling rapidly from the sky in the form of a parabola. Li Xianfang came to his senses and immediately issued an order. Everyone, wake up. I know that everyone may have some inexplicable feelings. But now is not the time to discuss. Everyone pay attention. Return home immediately. Return to Earth. Return to our world. Mysterious Area Number 16. Zhang Ming, who returned from the mangrove forest with a full load, had wild thoughts in his mind. His backpack was full of various new and strange plants, which might weigh 30 or 40 kilograms. Compared with the golden eel, the red toad, and the black six-legged monster mentioned in the broadcast, I don't know which one is stronger. The familiar environment made him feel safe. As a pure strength party, Zhang Ming imagined the scene of monsters fighting idly. The love of the power party is short-lived, and they are prone to falling in love with others. They prefer to have a harem, and they only care about appearance. The love of the strength party is eternal. As long as you are the strongest in the world, the strength party will always pay attention to you, love you, discuss you, concentrate on you, and never change their minds, no matter how beautiful or ugly you are. After thinking about it, he still felt that no matter whether it was a toad or a six-legged monster, it could not compare to the golden eel in the mangrove forest. Except for the huge creature in the center of the island and the super life form with a body length of 10,000 meters, the golden eel is considered to be T1 level. Its superpowers are also T1 level. However, at this moment, he suddenly felt that his foot kicked something smooth. There was only a slight bang sound, and the little thing rolled out several meters in a row, and then bounced on the ground several times with a ding-dong sound. Take a closer look. Zhang Ming picked it up in a daze, and the more he looked at it, the more surprised he was. Even his eyes were more confused. It's a ceramic piece. Made of clay. Zhang Ming was sure that this was a piece of ceramic, maybe part of a bowl or a teapot. It absolutely could not be formed naturally by nature. If nature could really form this thing, he would be willing to twist off his head and become a headless knight. After studying it over and over again, he found that the thing was too old and the patterns on it had been eroded by the environment, so it was not very clear. Could there be humans on the island? Aboriginal people, or, have humans ever been to this island? Am I not alone? This surprising discovery made Zhang Ming's adrenaline surge, his heart beat wildly, and he felt a creepy feeling all over his body. His mind was opened up, and the more he thought about it, the more excited he felt. Or, is there another intelligent civilization here? Did I travel to a parallel world? He didn't know what this meant, nor did he know whether it was good or bad, but his temples were beating wildly. A series of keywords such as mysterious area, supernatural phenomena, unknown islands, mutant life, intelligent civilization flashed back and forth in his mind, brewing a complex mystery that was difficult to understand. He calmed down and searched patiently for a while near the pottery fragments, and found another large blue stone. The shape of this large blue stone was too smooth, and it was obviously polished by humans. It might have been a bluestone road in the past, but as time passed, the road's surface was covered by the surrounding grass and trees, so Zhang Ming still did not find it after passing by it several times. Chapter 39 The Mysterious Valley. With strong curiosity, Zhang Ming mustered up his courage and slowly searched along the direction of the big blue stone. I just picked up some garbage and put the garbage of the indigenous civilization on the beach to seduce the country to send a rescue team. Isn't it wonderful? Zhang Ming was very confident that the words he wrote on the beach could be known to a certain extent by the motherland. Although he didn't know to what extent the so-called knowing could reach, In past experiments, most of his requests would be responded to by the radio. The rescue value of me alone is really too low. With an indigenous civilization, it's completely different. He walked very carefully and only walked 4 kilometers in an hour. He held the spear tightly in his right hand, and his heart beat faster and faster. The deeper he went into the bluestone path, the fewer plants there were. The bushes withered in large areas, and in the end there were no plants at all, turning into bare yellow land. It seemed that the howling of wild animals came faintly from afar. When the sound gradually became louder, it was clear that it was the sound of the wind. Climbing up a high slope, Zhang Ming trembled all over and saw a shocking scene. Bacterial colonies were everywhere, red, orange, yellow and green, and the umbrella-like caps were opening and closing like animals breathing, slowly moving. The largest caps were as big as a house, like reptiles. The broken walls and ruins everywhere told of the tragic war that had once broken out. In the center of this area, there stood a tower-like building, towering into the sky, about 600 meters high. The walls were full of cracks, half of which had collapsed and were densely covered with spore colonies. The surface of this building was stained with a huge blood stain, showing a strange dark red. Even though the blood stain had dried up, it still revealed a hidden spiritual fluctuation. Run, even at the edge of the valley, Zhang Ming still had a fatal sense of crisis. This might be the biggest crisis he had encountered in a month. That blood stain actually revealed the meaning of run away? He wanted to run away. But he found that it was too late. The brightly colored fungi were like the red spider lilies on the edge of the underworld, exuding a devilish temptation that tempted him to go deeper and deeper. Zhang Ming's heartbeat began to accelerate. Inexplicable whispers appeared in his ears, as if ants were drilling into his head, controlling his body, making him take steps and walk forward step by step. He felt that he was deforming. Every cell in his body had its own will. Nervous? Uneasy? Panic? My meat must be delicious, why not eat myself? The crazy idea penetrated into his brain. Zhang Ming grinned with sharp teeth and bit his arm fiercely. The severe pain made him shiver violently, and his heart became clear. The crazy hallucination disappeared for a short time. Run! Run! He broke free from this temptation with sweat on his forehead, and no longer dared to look at the fungi all over the mountains, and ran back the same way. Today's fantasy journey has exceeded Zhang Ming's tolerance. If the red toads and golden electric eels in the mangroves are still understandable mutant creatures, the colonies all over the mountains, the traces of artificial buildings, and the bright red talking blood are already a magical realm. This world is too crazy, but I actually like it so much. Zhang Ming ran in self-abandonment, with random thoughts in his mind. He returned to the coconut forest exhausted. The familiar environment did not bring him any sense of security, because his camp was only about 10 kilometers away from the crazy valley. Once the crisis spread, he would not even have the chance to escape. However, he had no way to escape. This island is only this big, and it is impossible to settle down in the sea, right? Instead, the group of turtles shaking their heads around the camp and waiting to listen to the radio gave him a comforting sense of security. After all, these guys are normal lives, able to understand, imagine, and communicate. Woo, the little white turtle in the lead roared unhappily, as if to express that you came back so late. Did you secretly eat chicken outside? You don't even listen to the radio? You must have done that despicable thing. Zhang Ming calmed his pounding heart, his eyes were red, and he imitated the turtle's speech. Arwoo, turtle, I'm in big trouble, I almost died. The turtles were confused. Turn on the radio. The familiar voice of the announcer Comrade Li Xianfeng reached his ears. The global earthquake will bring a series of chain reactions. The closure conditions of oil and gas fields will be damaged by the earthquake, and the physical properties of the reservoir will change. The difficulty of oil extraction will increase significantly. Chinese experts believe that the current chemical industry route with oil as the core will come to an end, and it will be replaced by the coal chemical industry route. My country has rich coal reserves, including 132.23 billion tons of resources and 244 billion tons of basic reserves. Coal will not disappear with geological movements. The opening of the coal chemical industry route will greatly delay industrial decline and increase population employment. The news from human civilization, whether good or bad, made Zhang Ming regain his sanity a little. He felt his body was cold and unconsciously glanced at his spirit value. Spirit 12/42, you are crazy. He quickly transferred the attribute points to the spirit value. After a while, The spirit value became 2050, slowly rising. You are not so crazy now, Zhang Ming breathed a sigh of relief. It is indeed a good thing to have a group of turtle friends. No matter what, it is a companion. The existence of the center of the island is beyond my understanding. The mysterious area is completely different from the Earth. It looks peaceful, but it is actually full of murderous intent. There used to be an intelligent civilization here, but they are probably extinct. No wonder this island is so safe. It turns out that powerful monsters dare not approach it. The bright moon hung high in the sky. Coconut trees grew wantonly, and palm leaves were intertwined with each other. The moonlight sprinkled down through the gaps, bringing a refreshing sea breeze. He suddenly thought of a wonderful possibility. That piece of ruins must contain rich treasures, enough for humans to rise in the supernatural era. Even if the crisis remains, it should fade with the passage of time. Now that I don't know how many years have passed, there may be some opportunities. There must be gains in the crisis. A civilization that has survived in the supernatural era must have some foundation, right? But after thinking about it, the power of one person is too small. And the tolerance rate is too low. It should be explored by a national-level expedition team. Instead of a little jerk like him, risking his life to mess around. The expedition team didn't come again, which really made people lose interest. Chapter 40, The Turtle Tasting Herbs Plan. Since I have lived here safely for a month, I can live here for a few more months. As long as I don't get close to that valley, the crisis should be under control. I have to hunt down that golden electric eel as soon as possible to strengthen myself. Near the crackling fire, the spirit value kept shifting, and when it kept rising to 50-80, Zhang Ming was no longer too panicked. He stopped the attribute transfer and sighed softly. If I didn't have the golden finger, I might have gone crazy. Spirit, the most mysterious and complex attribute, also has the largest fluctuation value. A higher spirit can bring courage, a positive and optimistic attitude, but the only thing that cannot be dispelled is the damn loneliness. After all, he is not a robot. Even if his spirit value is high, he will occasionally want to be alone in the dead of night. Radio. The northern gas field leaked seriously during the earthquake, and a large amount of methane entered the atmosphere. The greenhouse effect of methane is 120 times that of carbon dioxide. Experts estimate that the global greenhouse effect will be greatly enhanced, and the melting of glaciers in the Arctic and Antarctic will accelerate. If the glaciers melt completely, the sea level will rise by 66 meters, and most of the coastal cities in the world will be submerged. The surrounding turtles listened to the radio with great interest. In fact, they could not understand human language at all. They just thought that the chirping sound was very interesting and they listened to it for fun. There is only one way to become stronger. Eat. I'll start eating now. The turtles suddenly saw Zhang Ming throwing out a large pile of plants from his backpack, and they stretched their necks one by one and clattered around him. Which plants are edible? Can you tell me? Zhang Ming asked. As a result, the turtles were unwilling to eat most of the plants. As animals living in the ocean, land plants are not on their diet. Those pairs of black eyes stared at him, as if to express, you used to feed some crab shells, but today you only feed bark and grass roots? You are too stingy. Where is your conscience? It's a big deal. The plan of letting turtles taste hundreds of herbs seemed to have failed. Zhang Ming didn't feel embarrassed at all. Instead, he looked stinky and cursed. What's the point of raising you? What if I eat these herbs and get poisoned? Will you take care of me? I'm in a bad mood today. If I get poisoned, I will definitely have a mental breakdown. If I have a breakdown, I will kill a turtle to taste it. Of course, it was just a joke. He knew that these turtles could only read expressions and couldn't understand human words. But at least, spirit value +1, if he wants to taste hundreds of herbs himself, he has to raise the 3 attributes of physique, perception and spirit to more than 100 points, which is enough to be safe. At present, there are simply not so many attribute points. Zhang Ming made a few more actions of diarrhea and foaming at the mouth, and drew a few images of dying after eating herbs on his notebook, which made these stupid turtles stunned. In the end, the smartest little white turtle seemed to react to what this guy was saying. The white jay turtle, which was only the size of a fist, climbed forward happily, moved a few bright leaves aside, and then made a gesture of turning upside down and foaming at the mouth. Zhang Ming's heart moved and he became excited. You mean, only these few grasses are poisonous, and the others are not poisonous? The little white turtle made a vomiting motion happily, looking like he was dying. Woo-woo, can you tell whether the food is poisonous? Woo-woo, As long as it is not poisonous, I can taste it myself." The little white turtle became more and more cheerful, and kept picking. Soon, he picked out the items that might be poisonous. Among the remaining pile of non-toxic plants, Zhang Ming used a knife to cut a small piece of tree roots, put it in his mouth, and chewed it dry for a few times. He closed his eyes and used the abundant neurons on the tip of his tongue to feel the changes in taste. He felt that the tree roots were bitter and astringent, not like something that could be eaten, and quickly spit it out with a poo. It was not poisonous, but it didn't have any special effects. In fact, most plants are like this, not poisonous, but also can't be eaten. He cut another small piece of leaf and put it in his mouth. How can I describe the taste? It smells stinky, like a bunch of stink bugs. My nose buzzed and a foul smell came in. He spat it out again. Spirit value -1. Lao Zhang scratched his scalp, thinking, MMP, and threw the stinky leaf into the fire. He tried one by one and really found a few good things. One is the bark, which is like fennel, exuding a faint medicinal fragrance and can also bring a mysterious heat flow to the body. Zhang Ming values its seasoning function the most, which can remove the fishy smell of seafood and is perfect for cooking. The other is the green fruit, spicy. It is extremely spicy. The moment he cut it with a knife, the pungent spicy smell rushed straight to the top of his head and choked his tears. He licked a clear liquid on the tip of the knife with the tip of his tongue, and suddenly, Zhang Ming found that his tongue disappeared. The most powerful peppers cannot be tasted spicy at first, because the nervous system will be confused in extreme conditions. What did you eat? I'm busy, you can have fun by yourself. Then, it will go on strike for a few seconds. Then the spiciness slowly extends along the tongue to the throat, wave after wave, overwhelming and continuous. At this moment, Zhang Ming is in this extremely hot state. He sticks out his tongue and keeps breathing, and tears and snot flow out. It's really a super pepper. The whole person is numb. Could it be the peppers planted by the local indigenous people? But the appearance of this green pepper made him ecstatic, and he couldn't help but smile. Spirit value +1+1+1. He finally has the seasoning for cooking. Tears welled up all of a sudden, not knowing whether it was because of the spiciness or the ecstasy in his heart. Twists and turns, a memorable day, it's worth the risk. What's more, just a little bit of pepper juice made a huge heat flow in his body. This thing is definitely a natural treasure that is more nutritious than crab meat. It means a lot of attribute points. After more than a month of survival in the wilderness, I was fed up with the damn bland food. I almost ate the bird in my mouth. With bark, peppers, and sea salt, all the delicacies in the world are in my hands. High mental state, inexplicably optimistic. Lao Zhang deeply felt that he might not be normal. If he were an ordinary person, there would be a devil's valley next door, and he might be uneasy, curious, and excited, but he not only accepted this fact, but also lay down immediately and enjoyed his own food in the camp. It seems that these turtles are no different. Those turtles who are good at observing words and expressions found that Zhang Ming's eyes were full of tears, and they thought he was eating alone, and they shouted "Arwoo arwoo." They said that we want to eat that green fruit. You can't eat it all by yourself, give us turtles some. We turtles are very greedy. People die for money and turtles die for food. Don't you understand the truth? Especially the little white turtle bit his trouser leg directly and started to yell without any hesitation, looking cute and fierce. Ah, be sensible, young man, and follow the rules. Zhang Ming was not stingy and cut a little bit of the green fruit with a knife. Fearing that it would be really spicy, he threw the small piece into the clean water to dilute it. Then, he fed the little white turtle some diluted chili water. King of turtles, come on, be the first to enjoy the food. Chapter 41, People die for money, turtles die for food. A mouthful of chili water went down his throat. Gilulu, the little white turtle suddenly showed an extremely rich expression, and was moved to tears. His black pearl-like eyes looked at Zhang Ming at a loss. How about this exquisite delicacy? Do you want another bite? Zhang Ming nodded seriously. It was confused and messy, and its limbs kept stretching outward, blooming like flowers. Is this a delicacy? Is it? Is it not? This turtle, which has always been very lively, slowly retracted its head. Suddenly, it kicked its legs and started to run. With a bang, it jumped and rushed into a coconut shell filled with clear water. Abba 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 abba, the little white turtle shouted loudly, and because of the spicy taste, it didn't know what it was saying. Everyone here, who else dares to challenge? Zhang Ming held the diluted chili water, held back the desire to laugh, and yelled with a red face. Seeing Xiaobei struggling hard in the basin, looking extremely happy, the turtles, big and small, all said they wanted to have a bite too. Then, they all burst into tears. You look at me, I look at you. Pairs of black and huge eyes were permeated with mist, and they stepped out their thick and long legs and rushed into the sea frantically. The earth-shaking scene was like a bunch of mad elephants. Ho ha, Abba Abba, you are too bad. You obviously ate the pepper, but you deliberately pretended to be delicious so that other turtles would follow suit. Zhang Ming righteously educated the little white turtle who was gloating in the basin. Xiaobei said that he didn't know anything. It was their own greed. It had nothing to do with me. It was really smart. Although it should not be old, it was much smarter than other turtles in terms of intelligence. When it found that Zhang Ming was scolding it, it was very thick-skinned and directly shrank into its shell. This pepper is a rare treasure, but because it is so spicy, few creatures eat it. I will find a way to pick some tomorrow, dry it and preserve it. After playing with these turtles, Zhang Ming found that his spirit value soared to 70-80, which was considered to be relieved and no longer so collapsed. So, he shifted the attribute back to a balanced state. In a poetic mood, the collapse artist, turtle lover, Lao Zhang wrote a few lines on the ground with great interest. The turtle shouted, I will wait for you to go home for dinner in the camp. But I didn't expect that I was scared to shit by mushrooms today. But the nonchalant look was like a returning angel. Good poem, good poem. I am worthy of being the great writer Zhang. He took out the barnacles, coconut oil, fennel bark and peppers he had just collected, and began to stir-fry the barnacles. He also carefully cooked a small pot of rice. He hadn't eaten rice for a long time. After all, he only had 5 kilograms of rice, which could not last for many meals, so he was very frugal. But I was frightened today, and my spirit was too unstable. I really should reward myself. While cooking, Zhang Ming said to the little white turtle, you should know that there is an indigenous civilization in the center of the deserted island. I wonder if there are still indigenous people alive. Those colorful colonies, huge black shadows emitting a rotten smell, and some places that have not yet been explored. What kind of secrets are hidden on this island? Do you know, little white? Wow, forget it, you are such an idiot. Radio. The mysterious area contains abundant supernatural treasures. Experts believe that there may be large tracts of land in the mysterious area that can accommodate human survival and reproduction. The exploration and development of the mysterious area will be a great geographical discovery in the new century and one of the biggest cakes for future economic development. Zhang Ming was frying barnacles in a pan, still muttering, what the hell, why don't you send an expedition team instead of analyzing it theoretically? Send someone if you can. Radio. Latest news, the famous sprinter Bowling has refreshed the Guinness record for the 100-meter race, significantly improving the 100-meter result to 8.99 seconds. Weightlifter Li Dajin, through a burst of adrenaline, has refreshed the clean and jerk result to 500.5 kilograms. The advent of the supernatural era has increased the physical limits of mankind. According to current statistics, professional athletes have a greater probability of developing their own supernatural abilities. Tsinghua University, Peking University, Zhejiang University, Yunhei University and many other well-known universities have jointly established a New World Supernatural Laboratory, focusing on the study of supernatural phenomena. Any superpower who voluntarily participates in the experiment will be rewarded with 3 to 10 million yuan. Any clues to mutant creatures will be rewarded with a huge reward, up to 10 million yuan. The human side is still too weak. Zhang Ming always feels that he may be, perhaps, the most powerful human. If he uses the ability of Power Burst, he can run 100 meters in 8 seconds. If he allocates attribute points, it is not difficult to lift 800 kilograms. But even so, he is still at the bottom of the food chain on the deserted island. Of course, the strength of human beings does not lie in themselves, but in wisdom, industry and strong organizational ability. If they can't beat them alone, can't they use missiles, machine guns, or even hydrogen bombs? What if hydrogen bombs can't beat monsters? Then forget it. Eliminate human tyranny, and the world belongs to mutant creatures. Sprinkle a little water in the oil pan, and there is a crisp splash. The stir-fried barnacles are ready. The greedy turtles gathered around again, looking at them with eyes rolling. The spicy aroma of a large pot of barnacles made the turtles feel daunted, but they also couldn't stop eating. They opened their mouths one by one, looking forward to it like dogs. Zhang Ming tasted one and slurped it. The hot taste was like charcoal in a raging fire, rushing straight into his throat and irritating the root of his tongue, but he couldn't help chewing it. The meat tasted a bit like snails, very chewy and strong. After a piece of barnacle meat was eaten, a hot current soon burst out in the body, nourishing every inch of flesh and blood in the body. Paired with a mouthful of rice, it was simply delicious. Delicious. Zhang Ming couldn't stop eating at all, because as soon as he stopped, the spicy taste came up, but if he kept eating, it wouldn't be so spicy. It's really a good thing, with more attribute points than crab meat. Give you a shell. He threw the barnacle shell into the mouth of a greedy turtle. The turtle was stunned. It originally thought that it would have to endure the spiciness again, but it didn't expect that the spiciness was bearable. And then it showed an extremely shocked expression. Damn, even if it was just a shell, it was so delicious. Other turtles also gathered around, especially the little white turtle, who began to roar, "Arwoo arwoo." Zhang Ming fed a shell to the king of turtles and said solemnly, "Dear turtle friends, I want to establish a cooperative relationship with you. Give me some of the food you usually eat in the sea, and I can help you with the work. Whether it's removing barnacles from your body or cooking." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 42 Toxin Resistance. Zhang Ming doesn't want to work hard anymore. The turtle group is not weak. From the perspective of playing leisurely on the shore every day, this group of turtles is actually not weak. If they are hungry, who would be willing to climb up and play? Only when the problem of survival is solved can spiritual needs arise. Whether it is humans or turtles, it is the same. Look at their size again. The super turtle is as tall as 2 or 3 floors and is much stronger than an elephant. The little white turtle has more wisdom than a monkey. Under the division of labor and cooperation, it can also dive into the seabed to find food. How can their lives be 10,000 times more comfortable than Zhang Ming's? This group of turtles can bring great help to Zhang Ming by giving or trading some food casually. We have been together for a month, and I should hug my thighs. Of course, the most difficult thing is actually the communication problem. How to let them know the concept of trading is a troublesome thing for Zhang Ming. Even the smartest king of turtles, little white turtle, actually can't understand human language, but can only observe words and expressions. How can I make them understand the deal? Zhang Ming pondered in his heart, but there is no rush. There are barnacles on other turtles, so I can eat for a while. After eating all the snacks, the turtles return to the sea happily. For them, this unique taste is also an unprecedented experience. However, they never spend the night on land. They called a few times, "Arwoo arwoo," indicating that they would come to patronize the business next time, and went home first today. "You are very comfortable." Zhang Ming was lying in the camp to rest. Today's dinner gained 2 attribute points, which was satisfying. Looking again, a mysterious mark like a barnacle appeared on the attribute panel, which was very lifelike and similar to the crab mark. I was immediately happy. New abilities. In fact, eating mutant creatures does not necessarily gain new abilities. Like giant coconuts, super peppers, and various small shells, various plants, they only bring attribute points. Zhang Ming guessed that some mutant creatures have no abilities at all, they are just simply mutated. Or, some superpowers need the support of hardware, such as structures such as chlorophyll and cell walls. As a human being, he does not have this organ, so naturally he cannot obtain the corresponding ability. According to this principle, the probability of extracting new abilities from animals is greater than that from plants and mushrooms. Close your eyes and visualize the barnacle icon. A mysterious thought surged into your mind. Ability, toxin resistance. This ability can remove some toxic factors in the body and maintain the health of the body. 8 attribute points are required to activate. What a great ability. Zhang Ming took a breath. Although barnacles are small, they contain treasures. The price of 8 attribute points is not expensive. I earned 2 points by eating barnacles tonight. At the moment, I took 8 attribute points to the barnacle icon. A magical feeling surged into my heart, making me sleepy and drowsy. Since I had experienced it once before, it was not so surprising. In this magical dream, Zhang Ming felt that he had turned into a barnacle, parasitizing other marine creatures. Turtles, whales, sharks, dolphins, and reefs are all their hosts. Barnacles have no fighting ability. but they can use the power of their host to travel in this vast deep sea. In this vague memory, they parasitized an unimaginable giant. The body of this beast is as hard as a rock, and its size is comparable to that of a mountain. When its huge body moves slightly, the surrounding seawater will surge with waves. This terrifying scene can't help but remind Zhang Ming of a sentence: the size of Kun is unknown, how many thousands of miles it is, let's call this giant beast Kun for the time being. On the body of Kun, near a dark and deep hole, a large amount of filth is sprayed out from time to time. All the creatures that can't withstand the poison of this filth died. Over time, only some barnacles that can remove toxins are left, and they persist through their self-purification ability. This is the origin of the toxin resistance ability. Zhang Ming gradually woke up from his trance. The giant in his memory was vaguely remembered, but the dark and deep hole was particularly memorable. As for the hole that sprayed the toxic filth, it seemed to be an anus. Zhang Ming suddenly didn't know what to say. It turned out that the ancestor of barnacles was a shit-eater. And he became so arrogant while eating? If the memory just now is true, this mysterious area is too terrifying. Godzilla, which is 300 meters high, is just a baby compared to this deep-sea monster. The Earth can't accommodate such a creature. The deepest trench on the Earth is only more than 10,000 meters. This giant beast will be stranded directly on the Earth. The mysterious area is actually much larger than the Earth. It is a larger and more magnificent supernatural world. When he discovered this fact, Zhang Ming was confused and shocked. He was a little worried about what would happen to human civilization when it faced the super monster. The deterrent power of hydrogen bombs did not seem to be that great. Moreover, the difficulty of returning home seemed to have increased. But he quickly came to his senses and laughed at himself. You are a little punk, worrying about what the human race will do. It's really worrying too much. As long as the ability is useful, it doesn't matter how it was obtained. At that moment, he activated the ability of toxin resistance. Similar to the scene when attribute conversion and power burst were activated, a mysterious heat flowed in the body in a unique circuit. Zhang Ming didn't know what this heat flow was, so he simply gave it a name and called it spirit. Because of the flow of spirit in the body, various superpowers were generated. But Zhang Ming always felt that the flow of spirit was not just as simple as blood circulation, and it might also involve the existence of soul and other illusory things that were difficult for humans to understand. Spirit is even closely related to the mental state. If his state is too bad, the use of superpowers will also deteriorate. Just like this, he felt a sharp pain in his lungs. Something was forcibly pulled out, pushed by the mysterious heat flow, and slowly moved up along the trachea. At this moment, under the severe pain, he screamed, "Ah! This thing actually moves!" Cough, cough, cough. After a violent cough, Zhang Ming was horrified to find that several mushrooms as big as bean sprouts were coughed out of his nostrils. They jumped like maggots. After leaving the human body, these mushrooms quickly lost their strength and slowly crawled on the ground. In the flickering light of the fire, Zhang Ming's face was not good. A chill ran along his coccyx and spine and rushed straight to the top of his head. On an isolated island where no one can help, one wrong step will lead to nothing. Zhang Ming was nervous and racked his brains to think. What is this? There is nothing wrong with my body, my mind should be clear. He looked at the attribute panel and was surprised to find that his lifespan had decreased a little, becoming 24-29. In other words, just now, he lost a year of life. Chapter 43. No one can take away my attributes. On the dark and humid island, a drizzle of rain fell. Under the firelight, the two mushrooms stained with human blood were still slowly wriggling, looking for parasitic objects. Zhang Ming stared at his attribute panel and kept using the toxin resistance ability. Recalling the scene he saw in the valley, the fungus colonies all over the mountains were blooming like red spider lilies, and it was like a silent hell. I may have accidentally inhaled some fungal spores at that moment, and then I was parasitized. If I didn't have the ability to resist toxins, I might be finished soon. Just like the local indigenous people, the spores are so toxic that they deducted a year of my life in just half a day. The local indigenous people are likely to be gone. At this moment, Zhang Ming was angry. I have always only increased my attributes, but this time I was actually taken away by a parasitic mushroom. Thinking of the lost 1 point of life, it was as heartbreaking as granted losing a sack of money, and the whole person was in a bad mood. Toxin resistance brings heat flow to circulate continuously in the body, and there are no more discoveries. But Zhang Ming still couldn't stop being anxious. The mushroom that wiped out a civilization was jumping around his feet like a leech. How could he not be anxious? He knew the source of his anxiety. If he stayed on this island for a long time, he would inevitably be parasitized by spores. If he lost some lifespan every now and then, who could bury it? The leaping fireworks illuminated his face, which was red. As he was restless, a bold idea came to his mind. What if I roasted and ate these mushrooms? Since it grows in my lungs and coexists with me, it shouldn't be fatally toxic, otherwise I would have been poisoned to death. Just eat it. It's all protein anyway, maybe it can make up for that little bit of life. Even if it's poisonous, it can be resisted and eliminated with toxins. People die and face the sky, but they live for thousands of years. Thinking of this, Zhang Ming became more and more restless and eager to try. Unknown things are the most frightening. But as long as parasitic mushrooms can be eaten, the unknown is transformed into the known. He took a deep breath, took a branch, forked the squirming mushrooms on the ground, and grilled them on the flame. Under the burning flame, the mushrooms trembled a few times and stopped squirming. He cut it into pieces with a knife and grilled it for a while. He gritted his teeth and stuffed the strange charcoal into his mouth. Did it taste like enoki mushrooms? Except for a slight smell of blood, it tasted okay. He chewed it twice and swallowed it directly. A strong warm current was generated from the stomach. Before he could be happy, severe pain broke out from his body. Zhang Ming felt like he had eaten a high-explosive bomb. His whole stomach was blown upside down, and his internal organs were completely blown through. Sweat as big as soybeans dripped from his forehead. This was not a toxin, but a special spirit poured into his body. This wave after wave of pain lasted for half an hour. Zhang Ming was sweating profusely and opened his eyes. He was surprised to find that his perception attribute had increased a little. It's only half a mushroom, although the process of increasing strength is a bit painful. The joy of becoming stronger makes people unable to stop. Roast it a little more. It tastes like chicken and is crispy. Roast it a little more tender, and the protein is 6 times that of beef. Come again, no one can take away my attributes. It took more than 3 hours to eat these 2 parasitic mushrooms, and the perception attribute was raised by 4 points. Zhang Ming himself was sweating profusely, as if he had been fished out of the water, and his clothes were completely soaked with sweat. His mind was even more turbulent, as if there were countless ants crawling around in it, and he felt a piercing pain. These mushrooms still have some side effects, and toxin resistance is not omnipotent. It's just that these 2 mushrooms are parasitic from my body, which is equivalent to me eating myself, so the side effects can barely be tolerated. Zhang Ming always felt that he had discovered a bug and became a perpetual motion machine. But no matter what, it's still a profit. Perception increased by 4 points, lifespan decreased by 1 point, net profit of 3 points. Today, there were twists and turns, and a huge harvest. Zhang Ming lay on the chair, looking at the light rain in the sky. He was not afraid of the reduction of lifespan, because he could raise his lifespan again through attribute transfer. Even the next attribute points have a place to go. Earth. Near the mysterious area, the ocean-going investigation fleet. Of the 3,000-person team that entered the mysterious area, about 313 people fell into coma, generally showing irregular heartbeat, high fever, palpitations, cold sweats, vomiting and diarrhea, and the specific cause could not be found. Under normal circumstances, these people will wake up within 1 to 2 days, and there is a greater probability of obtaining a superpower. This is almost the same as the data provided by the Americans. In the Special Affairs Department, Li Xianfeng lay on the hospital bed, listening to the expert report. After their ship returned from the mysterious area, about 10% of the population was in a coma, including himself. This time the coma lasted for about 2 days and 2 nights before the situation improved. How is the data monitored by the satellite? Have you analyzed anything? Li Xianfeng drank a sip of warm water on the bedside table and said tiredly, have you found the island where Zhang Ming is? Several important experts have fainted, and the computer on the ship is not a supercomputer with limited computing power, so the data analysis progress is relatively slow, but the island where Zhang Ming is located is unlikely to be found. Li Xianfeng asked, since the island cannot be found, how did he hear the satellite broadcast? Everyone was silent. In theory, the sky above the Earth and the sky above the mysterious area are 2 different parallel worlds. As a result, Zhang Ming's radio can actually hear the Earth's broadcast? This made the experts doubt their lives. Li Xianfeng smiled bitterly and said, Alice, maybe his radio is a strange item. Since supernatural items have appeared on the Earth, there should be some in the mysterious area. It is possible. By the way, have you awakened any superpowers? According to convention, this information needs to be registered in the database. Ali Xianfeng was silent for a few seconds, frowned. I feel that the whole world has become a little different. I can see things very far away, and my sense of smell and hearing have also been enhanced. This is super perceptive. The little girl in charge of registration smiled, but she was not too surprised. Physical abilities are the most numerous, and the number of super perceptive people is quite high. The biggest advantage is that you don't need to wear glasses, you won't get presbyopia, and you won't be nearsighted. You only need to sleep 4 hours a day. Here, I need to test your vision, sense of smell and hearing. The test results came out soon. Li Xianfeng's perception ability is indeed several levels higher than that of ordinary humans. But among the super perceptive group, it is just an ordinary level. Then please have a good rest. We won't disturb you. After the door of the infirmary was closed, the room fell into silence. Li Xianfeng looked at the ceiling and sighed slightly. He concealed the ability he had obtained. On the surface, he was an ordinary supersensory person, but in fact he had another ability. Moreover, this ability was very strange, so strange that he subconsciously chose to lie. Chapter 44. What's the matter, little brother? Reincarnation allows you to reincarnate with your memories when you die. Only in human civilization, the moment Li Xianfeng woke up, he learned that he had this ability. Just like breathing, it was an innate talent. He accepted this fact as a matter of course. But no matter how you think about it, the ability of the reincarnation is too sensational. As long as he wants, as long as human civilization still exists, and people have children, he can reincarnate infinitely and become an immortal. Even if he breaks the law and is shot, it doesn't matter. Because he will always have the next reincarnation. He can commit crimes, do whatever he wants, and not fear death. In other words, he and human civilization have the same lifespan. This ability to reverse yin and yang, and reverse life and death breaks through human ethics, so after thinking about all aspects, he chose to conceal it and become an ordinary supersensory person. Thinking of this, Li Xianfeng thought of another strange possibility. Even the leader of his big project chose to conceal it from the masses, let alone others. There shouldn't be many people with extremely special abilities like me, otherwise, what will the world be like in the future? After thinking about it for a while, Li Xianfeng shook his head and decided to ignore this reincarnation ability and live his life well. His parents are still alive and they are only in their 40s. Why would they pursue the next life inexplicably? But the huge haze from the era of superpowers still lingers in his mind, like memory bubbles that will break at the touch of a button. Among billions of people, how many people will appear like him, who have extremely special abilities that transcend cognition? What kind of era will the future be like? If I don't choose to commit crimes, will someone choose to commit crimes? Is there a more powerful ability that can change the course of human history? The sky in the early morning was obscure and dark. The sun hid in the clouds and no longer showed up. Instead, a drizzle fell from the sky. Zhang Ming followed yesterday's route to collect super peppers and fennel bark in the mangroves, and carefully observed the movements of the big boss golden electric eel. The big eel lived near a huge tree root. Its golden scales opened and closed with its breathing. Its powerful muscles slowly exerted force and swam in the ocean. At first glance, it looked like a miniature golden dragon. As a major overlord of this mangrove forest, its life was extremely comfortable. Perhaps because it had eaten too much yesterday, the big eel had been lying down, occasionally flicking its tail a few times, creating waves on the sea. For a while, Zhang Ming did not have enough fighting power to deal with it. He just hid in the bushes, observing the surrounding terrain from a distance and remembering it in his heart. He went to the edge of the valley to search for traces of indigenous civilization. Most of the buildings were parasitized by spore mushrooms, and they did not dare to go deep rashly. He could only carefully absorb some spores at the edge, in almost the same position. Pulver, perception, attribute to 100 toxin resistance, a faint heat flowed inside the body. This time, Zhang Ming vaguely sensed that there were several black microorganisms floating in the air and parasitizing his lungs with his breathing. He did not block the parasitism of these black substances. Return to the camp immediately, and use the ability of toxin resistance to expel the newly grown mushroom spores from the lungs. Lifespan -1. Brother, you are very skilled and brave, let me show you a little magic. A magical scene happened. When the group of turtles found mushrooms coming out of Zhang Ming's nostrils, they were all shocked. The black eyes almost popped out of their sockets. What's going on? Run away. This person is going to die. Burn paper if you have something to do. They seemed to be extremely afraid of these things, and they ran away madly. They didn't even listen to the radio. One by one, they all fled into the ocean. What's the matter, little brother? Zhang Ming grabbed the little white turtle and laughed. Hehe, why are you running, little brother? Are you so scared? Eat some mushrooms, they are very tonic. The little white turtle screamed and tears were about to flow down. It retracted its limbs and turned into a piece of white jade stone. This is Iobe's inherent ability, petrification. It is cold resistant and heat resistant, and harder than steel. Zhang Ming had no choice but to let it go. After all, he didn't intend to hurt it. This guy immediately recovered from the white jade stone, took short steps, and ran away, and even looked back a few times. Zhang Ming laughed dryly. I know that this behavior is very abnormal now, but there is nothing I can do. These mushrooms are attribute points. It's not an exaggeration to say that they are a panacea. When I become a Superman, I will take you across the mysterious area to appreciate the colorful world of humans. Time passed day by day. Every day, I spent 2 hours looking forward to the arrival of the rescue team, 1 hour cursing God, and 10 hours fiddling with mushroom spores, and familiarizing myself with the terrain of the advanced dungeon, the mangrove forest. The reason why I didn't curse the rescue team was that I was afraid that after cursing, this group of people really wouldn't come. Zhang Ming still has this quality. When you are a troll, you must spray on the point. Cursing your savior, isn't that stupid? In short, on this day, Zhang Ming, who was getting stronger, set out with a glass bottle containing mushrooms. These mushrooms were left over from yesterday. He did not roast them and eat them, but came up with a bolder idea. Since mushrooms are the biggest boss here, why don't I borrow their power to bully others? When he approached the crabs with a mushroom bottle, those crabs who didn't know how high the sky was and how deep the earth was actually retreated. Billy, Billy, they waved their claws in fear, screamed Billy and fled at the fastest speed. My guess was right, today is the time for me, Zhang, to have a big harvest. Zhang Ming was overjoyed, and took the mushroom bottle and began to climb a giant coconut tree. He had been greedy for the bird eggs in the bird's nest for a long time, but the seabirds here were extremely fierce, with beaks several dozen centimeters long, and they could peck through a person's head with a light peck. In the past, he didn't want to take too much risk and fight to the death with these stupid birds. But now, with these mushrooms, there is an opportunity to take advantage of the power of others. It took nearly 10 minutes to climb the coconut tree, which is more than 100 meters high. When Ming climbed to the top of the coconut tree, the two giant seagulls, with unfriendly eyes, spread their wings, waiting for something in the nest. It looks like a male and a female, incubating eggs. Huh? The male seagull screamed, poked his head out, and stared at Zhang Ming with two unfriendly eyes. Who the hell are you? Tell me. Who sent you up? If you don't tell me, I will peck you to death. Facing such a huge bird, which is almost 2 meters high, Zhang Ming was a little nervous, especially when it was hanging in the air and it was not easy to exert force. If he was not careful, he would really die. But now that he had a trump card, Zhang Ming was on guard while grinning. Are you sure the eggs are cooked? The male seagull screamed Gah, and his eyes looked like he had experienced 10 years of darkness in the underworld, and he pecked at him fiercely. Chapter 45 God is merciful. Facing the fierce attack of the seagull, Zhang Ming suddenly shrank his head, threw the glass bottle containing mushrooms fiercely, and roared loudly, look what this is. The glass bottle reflected golden light under the sunlight. The elegant arc just flew onto the seagull's beak, making a bang sound. Gah! The male seagull made an extremely frightened expression, and the sharp beak that pecked fiercely directly choked. Should it peck forward or not? It really didn't dare to peck. The seagull flapped its wings and screamed gaga, and the dust raised by the bird droppings was overwhelming. Gah! Gah! The child's mother, the strong enemy is attacking, retreat quickly. Retreat quickly. The child's mother, who was hatching eggs there, also screamed Gah, looking at the glass bottle at a loss, her eyes wide open, and a confused face. After seeing the items in the bottle, it became even more panicked and looked at the child's father. Gah, where are the eggs? Don't want the eggs anymore? The child's father, Gah. Gah, as long as the mountains are green, there will be no shortage of firewood. Run away. The child's mother, Gah, can't bear to part with the eggs that have been incubated for so long, And now you don't want them anymore? The child's father, the child's mother, the two birds and flapped their wings while fleeing frantically outside. They were really scared and almost forgot that they were birds. They actually fell straight down from the top of the coconut tree. They fell in the air and then remembered that they could fly. They flapped their wings and flew into the sky. Only 3 white eggs were left in the bird's nest. Good guy, we are only eating one of your eggs. Are you so scared? Zhang Ming came to the vicinity of the nest and was delighted. Each egg was the size of a fist and weighed 2 or 3 pounds. The yellow-brown eggshell was dotted with black spots, and looked like a large quail egg. After holding the 3 bird eggs in the sun for a while, I found that one of them had grown an embryo, with clear capillaries and traces of a chick. The other 2 seemed to be white eggs, without any signs of growth and development. Will the reproductive capacity of mutant creatures be reduced? No wonder there are so few mutant creatures in their infancy. Even crabs, which have strong reproductive capacity, rarely have small crabs. Zhang Ming thought about something in his heart, turned around and put the bird egg that had grown an embryo back into the bird's nest. God is kind, so I'll give this one back to you. I don't need that much. He returned the 2 bird eggs and the glass bottle containing the mushroom to his backpack and climbed down the tree with joy. At first, he pretended to be worried about the seagull's revenge, but later he couldn't help but smile. Back at the base camp, he couldn't wait to boil one of them with boiling water. Along with a gurgling sound of boiling water, the firewood exuded the aroma of oil, and the eggshell was covered with the bubbles one after another. That was an egg, the longed-for source of life, an egg. Such a big egg, cook it for a little longer. In order to relieve the anxiety caused by waiting, Zhang Ming even took a book of advanced mathematics and studied the knowledge that he had abandoned for a long time with relish. How can I describe the current life? It is very fulfilling, but also very boring, with a lot of time to waste. Without the dopamine stimulation brought by the information explosion, no one to talk to, no entertainment, and only some quiet and monotonous fun. What's more, except for a pile of books left by the postgraduate entrance examination comrade, he has no books to read. So that's it, this problem can't use L'Hopital's rule, directly Taylor expansion can be used. Great, Green's formula, I still don't understand it. A sparse sound came from the bushes. Zhang Ming looked up and saw a group of turtles. Their black eyes looked at the strange mushrooms in the glass bottle and the pot emitting hot steam. They were shocked. This person was still alive. Do you want to have a bite too? In view of your last act of defection, this time, no bird eggs will be given. The turtles screamed "Arwoo," indicating that they did not run away on purpose, but they could not control their bodies, and their forelegs could not help but run away. Some turtles questioned loudly, "How did you survive? Your body is full of mushrooms, right?" Another turtle looked at the mushrooms in the glass bottle and was suddenly frightened and turned around and ran. As a result, a herd effect was triggered, and a lot of turtles followed and ran. Zhang Ming was too lazy to pay attention to their dramatic performances. He picked up the boiled egg with a huff, peeled it and enjoyed it himself. The fragrance of the source of life came towards him. This egg tasted similar to goose egg. The amount of egg white was not much, and the orange yolk accounted for more than 70% of the whole. It was full of fragrance and a little fishy when you took a bite. But it was this little fishy smell that brought a wonderful wild breath. The sea breeze kept flowing, and all things in the world were independent and interconnected, forming a complete destiny together. A light warm current flowed through his body. The spirit brought by the bird eggs did not seem to be too much, but anyway, it was the first time to eat it, and the effect of increasing attributes was quite good. As for whether there were new skills, it was unknown. Zhang Ming suddenly had a question. How was the first hen in ancient times tamed by humans? Wouldn't the hen feel heartbroken when the primitive people took away the eggs that the hen had worked so hard to incubate? Primitive people should have solved the problem of food and clothing before they domesticated hens, otherwise they would have eaten the hens long ago. He always felt that this step from 0 to 1 was very wonderful. There happened to be a well-fed person who caught a shivering hen, and the hen's ability to escape was not too strong, and she was willing to contribute her eggs. What a magical scene. Although modern chicken farms can produce hundreds of millions of eggs a year, it is difficult to find a chicken that meets the requirements in the primitive era of slash and burn farming. Thanks to that chicken. Zhang Ming shook his head violently, and said in his heart, eating a bird's egg, and eating it makes me feel emotional. He was too lonely. The random thoughts in his mind were like soap bubbles that burst with a poke. Or, He hadn't seen humans for a long time, and hadn't socialized. He had to find something to do, otherwise the overwhelming loneliness would completely drown him. It would be even better if it was made into salted duck eggs. It can't be called salted duck eggs. It's salted bird eggs. How are salted duck eggs made? Ask on the beach. A bird's egg weighs 2 kilograms, just enough to eat, a tribute +3, not bad. Looking back at the group of turtles, they were looking at the pile of eggshells on the ground in surprise and greed, and then looked at the mushrooms in the bottle. Ah, one of them shouted. The other turtles also shouted, people die for money and turtles die for food. We really don't dare to eat mushrooms, but we turtles have coveted bird eggs for a long time. Please, give me some. Please. Chapter 46, Bloody Storm. Zhang Ming said unhappily, as usual, eat some eggshells, arwoo, arwoo. The group of turtles, big and small, cried out happily, with grateful eyes. We have to eat eggshells too. We turtles eat everything except mushrooms. Especially bird eggs, we can't eat one in 100 years. What a simple happiness, eating some crumbs is so happy. A few minutes later, Zhang Ming found that there was an icon of a seagull on his attribute panel. Focusing on the icon, a vague feeling suddenly emerged from his mind. Ability, extraordinary vision, greatly increases your dynamic vision, and allows you to see ultraviolet light and infrared light, not activated, requires 12 points of attribute activation. He was immediately delighted. This ability is quite practical, but the price of 12 points of attribute is a little expensive. He just got a toxin removal a few days ago, and just made up for those few attributes. Now there is an additional dynamic vision. If this continues, the speed of obtaining attribute points will not be as fast as the speed of obtaining superpowers. Zhang Ming has a happy worry. After careful consideration, Zhang Ming chose to activate supervision. This time, his perception was quite ordinary. He seemed to have transformed into a seagull, soaring in the sky. It might be to catch fish, or it might be to avoid natural enemies. In the long-term evolution, he acquired supervision. When Zhang Ming came to his senses, it was already late at night. Those turtles were kind enough to help him add some firewood before leaving. Supervision, a large amount of spirits gathered near the eye sockets, forming a complex energy circuit. Under the effect of supervision, the field of vision changed dramatically. He could see infrared and ultraviolet light, just like the scene in the night vision goggles. The night was dominated by infrared rays, and the whole world was red. The tin house, coconut trees, coconut water tanks, and crab spears were bright red under the light of the fire. The change in visual cognition made Zhang Ming quite uncomfortable. He seemed to see a more bizarre but more real world, with an indescribable sense of trance. Fortunately, this ability is not a passive ability. As long as the spirit near the eye socket is dispersed, the supervision will become invalid. As his vision returned to normal, Zhang Ming looked at the bright flames and fell into deep thought. The scene just now reminded him of a philosophical question. Suppose there is a person who has a strange color blindness. The two colors he sees are different from others. For example, he sees blue as green and green as blue, but he himself does not know that he is different from others. Therefore, neither he nor others know that he is different from others. This question is called the color blindness paradox. The most profound feeling of the color blindness paradox is that no one can feel it deeply, or perhaps, what everyone sees, hears, and tastes is different, but the name is unified. Forget it, why should I bother about these problems? Zhang Ming always felt that he had a tendency to become a demon. After staying on a deserted island for a long time, he always wanted to go to extremes when encountering a little thing. But on the other hand, Zhang Ming found that he seemed unable to use two abilities at the same time. In addition to the innate attribute conversion, he now also has 3 supernatural abilities: power burst, toxin resistance, and dynamic vision. The use of these 3 abilities requires skills, and the spirit in the body must flow in a certain way. He must concentrate to successfully activate them. However, he found that he could not do 2 things at the same time. As a single process creature, he could not do both. To give an example, the application of superpowers is like doing math problems. He can't do 2 math problems at the same time, but can only do them one by one. Maybe someone can do 2 things at the same time, but Zhang Ming can't do it at the moment. What can I do? Zhang Ming frowned and sat by the fire and kept trying. If power burst and dynamic vision cannot be activated at the same time, there will be some small troubles in switching levels during the battle. 2 or 3 abilities can still be dealt with, but if there are more and more superpowers, it will be a big trouble. Is this problem only solved by practice makes perfect? Zhang Ming tirelessly switched power burst and dynamic vision, trying to make them coexist. But no matter how he tried, it still took a second to switch between the two abilities. But why can attribute conversion be activated at the same time as other abilities? Zhang Ming used attribute conversion to distribute his attribute points. The flow of spirit was so complicated that he could not perceive it clearly or understand it, let alone concentrate. Therefore, attribute conversion can be used at the same time as other abilities. After thinking for a long time, Zhang Ming could only attribute conversion to his innate ability, which was as easy and free as breathing and was engraved in the instinct of the body. The rest were acquired abilities and had to be thought about with the brain. Innate is an instinct, and acquired is learned, so there will always be some differences. Forget it, it's no big deal if I don't think about it. Practice makes perfect. In the next few days, Zhang Ming has been using the method of the fox borrows the tiger's power to collect bird eggs. The peaceful rivers and lakes are in turmoil again. The mysterious mushroom monster turned out to be out of nowhere, intending to unify the martial arts world. A small island has set off a bloody storm. For the people in the martial arts world, this is a catastrophe that is difficult to resist. There was once a hero who stood up and intended to fight against a mushroom monster, but the monster grinned and used a famous trick, Heavenly Girl scattering flowers. The hero was immediately frightened and turned into a rat, fleeing everywhere. There was even a hero who accidentally fell from a high altitude, forgot his good martial arts, and fell into pulp. When this matter came out, no one in the martial arts world dared to resist the mushroom monster. The long silent martial arts world finally appeared a real martial arts overlord. Ahem, didn't I just eat a few of your bird eggs? They are all white eggs without embryos, and it is impossible to hatch a bird. Don't circle around me, I'm really angry if you poop again. Woolen overlord, bird hater, Comrade Zhang Ming, no matter where he goes, enjoys the great achievement of the birds holding the moon. Several birds kept spinning in the sky, crying miserably. These stupid birds didn't dare to provoke him, so they simply acted as high-altitude bombers, bombing bird droppings from the sky from time to time. Fortunately, Zhang Ming had clear eyes and ears and was agile, so he was never hit by bird droppings. Old Zhang leaned down and threatened, "If you do that again, I'll hit you with stones." Chapter 47 Gaia Consciousness Hypothesis. As the mushroom monster took out the terrifying glass bottle, the bird bombers not only did not scatter, but flew higher and shouted more fiercely. Duh. Wow wow, if he could kill people with shouting, Zhang Ming might have died 100 times. Of course, eggs are just eggs after all, not real hatched birds. In addition, for sustainable development, Zhang Ming would not take out all of them at once, and would always leave a few in their nests. So the bombers wandered around for a day or two, and found that there was no effect, so they stopped and went back to continue hatching eggs. Boom, a flash of lightning streaked across the sky, and the lead gray clouds unknowingly blocked the sun. The cold rain fell from the sky and soaked the clothes. The weather has not been very good recently. There are few sunny days, and most of them are cloudy and rainy days, but Zhang Ming's mood is like chewing Zuanmei chewing gum. He can't stop at all, and every move is full of energy. Another good day for a good harvest. Zhang Ming guessed in his heart that the rainy season for this island was about to arrive. He didn't want to go out in the heavy rain to look for food. He quickened his pace and rushed back to his tin house. He carefully took out the bird eggs from his backpack and put them into a large suitcase. 1, 2, 3 The box was filled with sawdust and colorful bird eggs. 35, 36 Zhang Ming enjoyed his own unique happiness, and the smile on his face became more and more intense. Even though he knew exactly how many bird eggs there were, who could refuse the joy of a good harvest? A total of 101. It's over 100, the food reserves were more abundant than ever before. In addition to the two conventional foods of dried crab meat and coconut meat, there were more bird eggs, and the ingredients were further abundant. Oh, plus mushrooms, the speed of attribute improvement soared. Eating 3 bird eggs a day can last for more than a month. After a month, they may produce new eggs. Well, sustainable development is the best. Then he had a new worry, because there are too many types of bird eggs. In addition to seagulls, there are also puffins, egrets, albatrosses, and some seabirds that are not familiar. These bird eggs bring new abilities. New superpowers require more attribute points to activate. This is a vicious cycle. Too many superpowers. What should I do if the attribute points are not enough? Lying on the chair, Zhang Ming thought tangledly. Earth. Comrades, good morning. Mysterious area number May 16th have entered the rainy season, which is a major test for Zhang Ming's future survival. At the morning meeting of the new day, Li Xianfeng rubbed his temples and clicked the mouse a few times to transmit the latest mirage image to the big screen. The scene was gray and drizzling, and it was not very clear. Many experts discussed, I think there will be no big problem in the short term. He has stored enough food and firewood. We have reminded him of these on the radio. It is better not to go out in the rain during the rainy season. Even if he is physically strong, what if he gets sick and has a fever? Li Xianfeng shook his head and said, it is not a question of whether the problem is big or not. Our comrade Xiao Zhang is not only alive, but also enthusiastically taking bird eggs. How did he scare the birds on the island? He even wrote some words on the beach with leaves. We imagined him too simple. There are many things that we don't need to remind him of. Take one of the pictures and enlarge it. The words on the beach covered with the leaves are, salted duck eggs. What does it mean? Of course, they are asked to broadcast a method of making salted duck eggs on the radio. Many experts were silent and looked at each other. This guy eats a lot of fish and meat on the isolated island every day, and now he is playing with life. People who don't know would think he is on vacation in the rainforest. It was a pity that they racked their brains and worked hard, fearing that this guy would suddenly die suddenly. It was like the emperor was not anxious, but the eunuchs were anxious. Of course, there were two other lines of text on the beach, which attracted the attention of scholars. I want to learn the principle and production method of the Faraday cage. There are natives, come quickly. The amount of information in these two lines of text was a bit large, which made the expert team a little doubtful about life. Why does he need the production principle of the Faraday cage? Is he afraid of being struck by lightning? Or is there a monster on the island that sprays lightning? Li Xianfeng asked with a frown. Faraday cage, a device for protecting against high-voltage electricity. Its cage is connected to the earth. When high-voltage electricity hits the metal cage, the strong current will be introduced into the ground, while the humans hiding in the cage will be unharmed. This physical phenomenon has many applications in voltage protection and direct lightning protection, and it is even used in the field of magic. For example, David Blaine wore a 12.2 kilograms metal armor to challenge a 1,000,000-volt electric shock, using this principle. But what does Zhang Ming need the specific principle of the Faraday cage for? As for the line there are indigenous people, the amount of information is even greater. The expert team can't even determine whether this sentence is true or false. To be honest, Zhang Ming's actions these days have been a bit sneaky, and Mirage can't track him. Everyone is a little worried about his mental state, so they specially extended the broadcast time from the original half an hour to the current 1 hour. The knowledge of wilderness survival was repeated many times, asking him to wait in place and learn from Dai to build a shelter, and not to run around like Bear Grylls. But it was useless. After a moment of silence, Li Xianfeng cleared his throat and said helplessly, he wants the knowledge of Faraday cages. Try to satisfy him as much as possible and send it to him via satellite broadcast. As for the news about indigenous people, it is not impossible, but we really can't help here. Even if there is an indigenous civilization on the island, what can we do? We don't know where they are. Regarding the possible existence of intelligent civilization in the mysterious area, everyone discussed it privately many times. The glimpse of the artificial satellite outlined a vast, deep and vast parallel world. The area of the mysterious zone is much larger than the Earth. It may even be 1,000 or 10,000 times larger than the Earth. Quantitative change brings qualitative change. It is not surprising that such a huge ocean area has given birth to another intelligent civilization. Sort out the information Zhang Ming wants and send it over this afternoon, Li Xianfeng said again. Comrades, we have two more things to discuss next. The first is about the rescue plan for the survivors in the mysterious zone. This is also one of the few international cooperations in contemporary times. Academician Jack, please briefly introduce the satellite data analyzed in recent days. Although the artificial satellite sent a few days ago only worked for more than 10 seconds, the radio wave data obtained in a short period of time was enough to analyze some basic content. Academician Jack, with gray hair, held a thick stack of information and had two dark circles under his eyes. He said tiredly, the first conclusion is that the satellite received long-wave communications sent by international collaborators. This means that the four mysterious areas of the Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, and Arctic Ocean are essentially connected and are the same world. We can think that the mysterious area is a huge and vast parallel world. The Earth we currently live in is embedded into this huge parallel world in some unknown form, and the Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, and Arctic Ocean are actually the entrances to the mysterious area. A young doctor raised his hand and gestured. You mean, the Earth we live on is becoming a part of the mysterious area? Yes, as you know, it is easy to get lost after entering the mysterious area. If you don't use ropes to connect the inside and outside, it is difficult to find the position of the Earth even if you are close at hand, academician Jess said lightly. This is a special space phenomenon. With our current scientific and technological system, we cannot understand this space phenomenon for the time being. If we use some idealistic statements to explain, the Earth is deliberately avoiding the fate of being assimilated by the mysterious area. It is hiding itself to avoid the risks in the mysterious area. As Westerners say, God protects mankind, otherwise the end of the world would have happened long ago. Of course, we don't believe in the existence of God. We believe that there is a Gaia consciousness that has given us a little help in this catastrophe. Gaia consciousness. Li Xianfeng couldn't help but straighten his back. The Gaia hypothesis is a major research hotspot in the current supernatural discipline. The hypothesis believes that the appearance of mirages is the instinctive self-rescue behavior of the Earth's Gaia consciousness. Just like when the human body is sick, it will spontaneously activate the immune system. Now that the Earth is likely to be swallowed by the mysterious area, it will have a strong tendency to save itself. The hypothesis further infers that the outbreak of disasters in major regions is the resonance of human group consciousness. Gaia consciousness as the group consciousness of the Earth is connected with all things in the world, from fungi and bacterial spores to forests, grasslands, lakes and seas. But it is undeniable that the biggest variable is actually human beings. When a group in a mirage is wiped out, the entire human group will spontaneously come to the view that this race is not suitable for survival at the end of the world. This view is so strong that it has created a collective resonance, thus affecting the Gaia consciousness and causing a huge disaster in the region. In other words, it was the spontaneous collective consciousness of mankind that caused Gaia to destroy the country. Rather than the so-called punishment from God, this hypothesis is actually quite metaphysical, and some evidence is still to be collected, and there are many disputes between believers and non-believers. But in any case, it can be regarded as a statement that is barely logically complete. This is what is called science. It does not exclude the emergence of unknown phenomena, nor is it a rigid framework. When unknown phenomena appear, scientists will try to establish a more complete system to incorporate the unknown phenomena and explain them. After talking about this and that for a long time, academician Jeff found that he had gone a bit off topic. He coughed lightly and brought the topic back to the topic. Let's go back to more than a month ago. The global earthquake outbreak was essentially the global shock caused by the Earth's embedded into the mysterious area. At the boundary between the Earth's plane and the mysterious area, the space has produced a large displacement, so those unfortunate people may have been teleported to a faraway place by accident. This kind of long-distance space displacement only occurs at that moment. Now that we have entered the mysterious area, this kind of space displacement phenomenon will no longer occur. Li Xianfeng nodded slightly. Academician Jie continued, based on the above hypothesis, our country's previously launched artificial satellites have detected two electromagnetic wave signals. The first is the large cruise ship number 1 Mirage, the ship carrying 3,000 passengers, approximately 12,000 kilometers in the southwest direction. The signal source is very simple, SOS sent by radio. The second is the Arctic Ocean team, 17,000 kilometers in the northeast direction. The signal source is very simple, Mayday sent by radio. The above two data are not completely accurate. At least 2 satellites are needed to locate more accurately. However, the overall credibility is still relatively high. This news is really exciting. 2 of the 3 teams that entered the finals were found by a satellite. Some of the citizens are indeed from Daksha. As long as the approximate location of these 2 teams is known, there is a possibility of rescue. There was a buzzing discussion in the room. Is the energy reserve on their ships enough to cross more than 10,000 kilometers? No, they are short of energy and food now. So we have to send warships and planes to pick them up. So this is one of the few international joint efforts. Spending a lot of manpower and material resources to rescue the international team is not a big deal. On the one hand, it is indeed to reduce the occurrence of geographical disasters. On the other hand, Being able to create a more relaxed diplomatic environment is a diplomatic bargaining chip. Due to the rapid deterioration of the living environment, the cloud of war is looming over the head of human civilization. Some areas are already at war. The Earth can no longer support so many people. Who will die and who can survive? Who is friends with whom and who is an enemy? These questions must be thought through. In a world with undercurrents and a spiraling human civilization, every country is expanding its military significantly. Yesterday is always better than today, and tomorrow is always worse than today. Even a big country must be cautious and take every step carefully to avoid the possibility of being hunted by a pack of wolves. Li Xianfeng was even somewhat thankful that he lived in a big country with strong industrial capacity, and his work was relatively academic, slightly away from the politics of petty intrigue and intrigue. There were many things that were really exhausting. After everyone finished discussing, Li Xianfeng spoke again. Everyone, in addition to rescuing survivors, there is a second task. We need to deploy a large scientific research base near the border between the Pacific Ocean and the mysterious area. The training and research plans for superpowers will be officially launched within a month. About 1/10 of the humans who entered the mysterious area activated their superpowers, and this number made the upper echelons very excited. This cost is much cheaper than eating monster meat, and mutant creatures on the Earth are still rare. Even if most of the abilities are physical abilities, who would refuse better physical fitness, more talents, and even higher lifespan? P.S. Today's 2-in-1, fill a small hole first, and no longer divide into chapters. Chapter 48 Multi-ability People in Theory. When talking about the site selection of the scientific research base and the training of superpowers, everyone discussed it enthusiastically, and one point of view after another was put forward. But after Li Xianfeng opened the topic, he remained silent and did not speak. He himself awakened the ability of the reincarnation, and was actually secretly wary of those with special abilities. He didn't know what kind of changes all kinds of unknown superpowers would bring to the world. Even he himself concealed something, let alone others. What if a big villain like Yuri, Loki, Ultron or Magneto appeared? However, the pace of the times cannot be reversed by human will. If you don't adapt to the times, you will fall behind. The country cannot give up such an opportunity. The whole world cannot give up. Thinking of this, Li Xianfeng had a trace of inexplicable sadness. Can he jump out of the times? He can't. How many people in the world are real trendsetters? You think you are a helmsman, a pioneer, and a chess player, but in fact you are just drifting with the tide. The times have chosen a direction for mankind, so this big ship cannot turn around. After the discussion, Li Xianfeng suppressed his emotions. Everyone, we need to find a suitable location near the mysterious area to build 5 truss-type super-large offshore floating platforms. Using these floating islands as logistics bases, we can carry 30,000 to 50,000 soldiers into the mysterious area every month to awaken superpowers. These quotas can also be used as bargaining chips to unite many neighboring countries. Giving them a few thousand quotas every month is a great benefit. The current diplomatic pressure is really great. South Gao and North Gao may break out in a nuclear war. Talking about this topic, people can't help but feel worried. One of the young researchers asked, is it really possible to fight a nuclear war? The war is far away, but it seems to be close at hand. However, with the advent of the supernatural era, everything has changed. Li Xianfeng sighed. In the past, the Earth could theoretically feed 12 billion people, but famines were still frequent. Now the sea level has risen and the land area has shrunk significantly, so it can only feed 6 billion people. If something unexpected happens in the future, it may only be able to feed 3 billion people. I will assume that the Earth in the future can feed 3 billion people. This means that everyone is close to the poverty line and just not starving to death. You are willing to work diligently all day just to have a full meal, and the angle coefficient is close to 100%. After working for a day, you can't afford anything except food. You don't want to, right? The researcher opened his mouth, unable to speak, and his young face suddenly dimmed. You definitely want to live a better life? After all, more people want to live a better life. This idea is very natural and is also the foundation of the development of human society. If everyone wants to lie down, humanity will not develop. It is precisely because of desire and competition that the development of the human world is promoted, but to live a better life, more resources will be consumed, and the total population that the Earth can support will decrease. So, the so-called middle class appeared. In addition to the so-called middle class, There is a group of people standing at the top of the pyramid. They own the vast majority of resources and control the power in the world. The arrival of a new era may only change some of the people at the top of the pyramid. The people at the top of the tower, 1% of the population, control 80% of the resources. That's not a problem, right? Then how many people do you think the Earth can still support? The room was silent. Academician Jack, the oldest, also shook his head gently. Li Xianfeng tapped the table with his fingers. Let's stop here. Living in a big country is a blessing. Let's consult on the specific location of the floating island and make some plans. I'll go to the Americans to communicate about the rescue work in the mysterious area. The meeting ended like this, and Li Xianfeng went to the communication room with a stack of information. Xiao Li, you have been under a lot of pressure these days. I always feel that you are absent-minded. Academician Jay walked over with a smile. Li Xianfeng smiled bitterly, turned on the communicator and dialed a number. How can I sleep if I don't find Zhang Ming? If the other two teams are brought back to Earth, there will only be a mirage in Area 16 in the sky, and people all over the world will be staring at it. What does it matter? Attracting worldwide attention, Academician Jay spread his hands helplessly. At that time, Zhang Ming was on a plane flying in the sky, and the others were on ships in the sea. The displacement amplitudes produced were very different. The others moved an amplitude of 1, and he may have moved 100, 1,000, or even 10,000. On the other hand, the other two teams have a large ship with complete equipment, which can continuously send distress signals. Zhang Ming has no electronic equipment. How can you let people find him? I know this too, Li Xianfeng said. Academician Jie rubbed his white hair and said, no matter what, we have to rescue these two trapped teams as much as possible. It's not only to reduce the outbreak of the Earth disaster, but also because there are people from our great Xia country in those two teams. As for Zhang Ming, we'll think of a way later. He eats a lot of fish and meat every day, and he's still a scientist there, studying Faraday cages. He won't die in a short time. Li Xianfeng nodded helplessly. The screen lit up soon, and after the satellite signal was connected, the familiar face of Professor Peter Greer appeared on the screen. Apart from some political factors, the personal relationship between the few people is still quite good. Oh, you are talking about Zhang? Zhang Ming from District 16, an amazing man, Professor Peter said excitedly. Actually, he's very powerful. He's getting stronger every day, and he's getting stronger by leaps and bounds. Compared to the beginning, when it was very difficult to catch a crab, now it's so easy to do it. He is definitely the strongest among humans. He may have mastered some special ability, otherwise he wouldn't be able to digest the flesh and blood of so many mutated creatures. Ordinary people will die if they eat so much monster meat. That's true, Li Xianfeng smiled bitterly and said, he hardly catches crabs now. Maybe he's tired of eating them. There is a severe shortage of mutated creatures here, but he is about to vomit over there. Professor Peter clapped his hands and said excitedly, No, Li Xianfeng, you underestimate how powerful Zhang is. I once asked an old friend abroad. He once hiked across the Amazon and stayed alone on a deserted island for 60 days. Guess what he said? Li Xianfeng's ears perked up. Indeed, there are many more wilderness survivors who are seeking death abroad than in China. Professor Peter did not keep the secret and copied in fluent Chinese. My friend said that 60 days on a deserted island was more torturous than hiking in the Amazon, and he never wanted to do it again. When hiking through the Amazon, he had a guide and teammates, so his optimism could be shared. During the 60 days on a deserted island, he was alone and lacked social interaction. Once he had negative emotions, it was difficult to vent. Now, Zhang's situation is even more difficult. He faces the supernatural world alone, but he is like a fish in water. I guess his ability is very complex, and he can strengthen his physical and mental state in all aspects. He may even be a theoretical multi-ability person. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 49, Hunting the Golden Electric Eel. Zhang Ming naturally didn't know that the people on Earth were trying to save the trapped people in the mysterious area. Even if he knew, he might be even more upset. Because the rescue operation has nothing to do with him. The boring days passed one by one. The sky was covered with dark clouds, and the rain kept falling, as if every day was exactly the same. In a blink of an eye, It was already the 91st day on the deserted island, and the 4th month had arrived. To be honest, if it weren't for the high-end watch he picked up, which could still display the month and date, he couldn't remember the year, month and day now. His hair was long and messy, and his beard had grown. He was reluctant to wear good clothes, so he could only expose his upper body and find a leaf to cover himself. He looked no different from a savage. Radio: Fusang attacked Australia without warning. The Secretary-General of the International United Nations strongly condemned Fusang's war crimes in the strongest terms. The evolution of the world is always more rapid than imagined. The dog chain loosened, and the dogs started fighting. But why would dogs fight each other? Where did Fusang's ocean-going fleet come from? Where did the weapons come from? It's impossible to create too much military power in just 3 months. This matter reveals a conspiracy theory illusion from head to toe. Small-scale exchanges of fire occurred on the Balkan border. Tensions in the Palestinian-Israeli region. Is the world war really going to break out? Listening to the news on the radio, the outside world was surging, and Zhang Ming just felt that they were noisy. When yesterday's memory is almost the same as today's, the brain will gradually lose the concept of time, which will lead to the degeneration of nerve function, and people will gradually become dull, their subjective initiative will decrease, and their mood will be depressed. This is also the physiological reason why the human species cannot do 007 repetitive work every day. Lao Zhang, looking at the gray sky, felt that he had become a Buddha. Uncle, I have to be trapped in this hellhole for the rest of my life. Those dogs are busy fighting, and they may forget me. He is using the wreckage of the plane to make a metal cage. The clanging sound lasted for more than a month, and it was finally coming to an end. At first, the intelligent turtles came over curiously to see why this guy was knocking things here. Later, they completely lost interest, and only the smart little white turtle occasionally came over to see what Lao Zhang was tinkering with. Woo, 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 it asked with its mouth open. Are you building a big pot? This is not a pot, but a Faraday cage, an instrument that can effectively resist millions of volts and is used to fight against golden electric eels, Zhang Ming explained happily, all kinds of principles and theories, spitting all over. He was too eager to socialize. But for a foodie turtle, at most he could understand the food term electric eel. What is the principle of the Faraday cage? Can it be eaten? Woo, woo, Zhang Ming didn't quite understand what the little white turtle was talking about. It might mean that the electric eel was very powerful and not easy to provoke. In the past 2 months, he has become even more powerful. Various bird eggs, plus mushrooms, have brought a full 292 attributes. The current attribute panel is Physique 148/160. You are as strong as a strong bear. What kind of species is a strong bear? Perception 130/134. You are more sensitive than a super lynx. Spirit 62/110. Your mind is more determined, but emptiness and loneliness linger in your heart, making you crazy from time to time. Lifespan 24/60. It's finally my turn to increase my lifespan. I'm overjoyed to get rid of my short life. Total attributes 464. Looks a bit ordinary. Superpowers: power burst, activated; toxin resistance, activated; extraordinary vision, activated; eagle eyes, not activated; decay lover, not activated; dynamic eyes, not activated. The 110-point mental strength limit is still no match for emptiness and loneliness. The 2 superpowers that have not yet been activated are extracted from bird eggs of different categories. Eagle eyes, dynamic vision and supervision are of the same type, requiring 10 attribute points. Zhang Ming felt that his current supervision was enough, so he did not spend the attribute to activate it. As for rot lover, which allows him to digest some rotten substances, this ability actually requires 22 attribute points to activate. He does not need to eat carrion for a while, so he put it aside. After eating bird eggs and mushrooms for a month, it is not that he is tired of eating them, but the attribute points brought are decreasing. What's more, there are only so many birds of all sizes around, and almost all the bird nests have been dug out. For sustainable development, Zhang Ming does not eat bird eggs that have grown embryos. As for the spirit brought by parasitic mushrooms, it is also slowly decreasing. The attribute points brought by mushrooms are far higher than bird eggs. But the fatal thing is that after being parasitized by mushrooms, lifespan will be deducted. If the attribute points brought by mushrooms are less than the deducted lifespan, it will not be worth it. The Faraday cage has been made. The next target is the golden eel. Zhang Ming patted the iron cage beside him and looked at the gray sky. Wait for a sunny day and fight for the real future. In the anxious waiting, he waited until the 10th day of the 4th month, while fighting with advanced mathematics. Zhang Ming suddenly raised his head, and the thick black clouds suddenly opened a crack, revealing the blue sky behind, and the sun was shining like gold foil. Is the rainy season over? Maybe it's over, maybe it's not, it's just an accidental twist of nature. I'm leaving, I have to go. A group of turtles looked at him in confusion. Going? Where to? I'm leaving to challenge stronger monsters. Zhang Ming tidied up his savage clothes and carried a basket of crab spears. I know the mysterious area is terrible. The country sent a satellite but couldn't find me. I also know that the mysterious area is extremely dangerous and there are many monsters stronger than me, but the more so, the more it shows that no rescue team will come here. I have to be self-reliant. I'm going crazy. I need victory and mental stimulation. I need to swim back by myself. Zhang Ming held up a huge iron cage weighing more than 300 kilograms and headed for the mangrove forest. For this hunt, he made sufficient preparations. He is no longer the rookie who just started out. Little white turtle, arwoo arwoo. The turtles have never seen Zhang Ming so serious, and they followed him one by one, a little at a loss. In addition to the Faraday cage, there is also a thick insulating garment that covers from head to toe. It took about 8 high-end women's clothing to cut and spend 4 days to carefully modify it. It absolutely does not contain any metal substances and is 100% insulated from the opposite sex. As for the way to hunt golden electric eels, it is also very simple. Traps and venom. Chapter 50, Can mutant creatures become good friends with humans? In order to hunt the golden electric eel, Zhang Ming prepared a large piece of fresh crab meat, inserted a metal dagger inside, and a large amount of chili peppers. The essence of spiciness is a kind of pain. When it is fierce to a certain extent, it is no different from poison. As long as it dares to eat crab meat, the dagger will get stuck in its throat and pierce the wound. At the same time, the fierce spiciness will be released instantly. These spicy tastes will stimulate the wound and bring unimaginable pain. It will definitely struggle violently. Zhang Ming performed the whole battle process in his mind, but the more it struggles, the more internal bleeding, and the faster the vitality will be lost, and I can consume it to death. At the same time, the chili pepper is not poisonous, and I don't have to worry about the problem of eel meat being contaminated. The turtles screamed in unison and stopped outside the mangroves, asking Zhang Ming not to move forward. Don't worry about me, I'm prepared. They are all smart, and their eyes are always watching. Slowly, they feel Zhang Ming's determination. This is not a game, but a war. People all over the world focus their attention on Mirage number 16. The drizzle in Mirage number 16 lasted for nearly 40 days, and almost nothing could be seen clearly. But as the sky cleared, Zhang Ming held up the Faraday cage and set out, followed by a large group of turtles, showing the magical scene in front of the world. This is the first time that a group of turtles have appeared in the camera so clearly. In the past, they did not appear in the camera many times. This time, it was different. The elegant and huge body sways when walking, the long neck is dotted with spotted patterns, and the eyes on the head are like beautiful black pearls. As the saying goes, 3 views follow the 5 senses. Even though these turtles are dangerous mutants, they immediately won the favor of a large number of netizens. What is he doing holding the cage? What kind of turtle is this? It doesn't look like a sea turtle. They can retract their heads and their backs are so smooth. A turtle as tall as a 2- or 3-story building must weigh tens or hundreds of tons. Right, the one with the highest status should be the white one. It's such a small turtle. I really want to catch it and keep it in a water tank. Come on, the mutant will go crazy and bite your throat off. There are only 3 of the original 16 mysterious areas now. Most of them were wiped out by mutants. Even the most generous and fat people, in the face of cruel facts, also realize that the world is not the same as before. But this time, the appearance of turtles is simply shocking. Can mutants be good friends with humans? Looking at this relationship, it's not just ordinary good. Many scientific researchers at home and abroad have begun to re-examine the huge amount of information contained in it. Rumor has it, of the 3 trapped teams, 2 are currently being rescued, and the chances of being rescued are relatively high. Among them, there are about 50 Daksha people. There is only this guy in District 16, and there is really no way to rescue him. In fact, the other 40 or 50 Daksha people are not very popular. Who would want to watch collective life instead of fighting alone in the wilderness? But no matter what, rescuing them is always a good thing, and it can still be inspiring. It's not that we don't want to rescue them, but we really don't have the strength. Someone else asked, if these survivors are rescued, will natural disasters not break out? A friend of mine works in the government. According to him, the outbreak of natural disasters is actually caused by human group consciousness. If most people in the world don't associate survivors with national destiny, there will be no saying that natural disasters break out. Unknowingly, various views on Gaia consciousness appeared on the internet. The official attitude is ambiguous, neither refuting rumors nor deleting posts, allowing them to spread freely. Yunhei shelter. People lined up to receive lunchboxes on the dining car. The population of the shelter is only half of what it was 2 months ago, and a large part of them have been evacuated to the countryside. Some are involved in the construction of various super projects. The rest of them gather in 2s and 3s, bragging and talking about the recent war, mirages, and the recently emerging Gaia theory. They seem to be accustomed to this kind of life of eating from the same pot. The times are changing. Who could have thought that human civilization a few months ago would be completely different from a few months later? The oil crisis is back. The price of fuel vehicles is comparable to scrap metal, and the price of electric vehicles is soaring. The current price of a byte is 2 million. Come on, the bank won't let you withdraw money. Where did the 2 million come from? Did it fall from the sky? The government is buying lithium batteries in large quantities, unlimited. The trick that the great Shia government is best at is called delaying and waiting for changes. What should we do if everyone rushes to the bank to run on the bank and triggers a financial crisis? Just don't let you withdraw money. The bank won't go bankrupt. Anyway, just delay it. At most, you can withdraw a few thousand yuan a month, and no more. In this way, until the sky turns dark, until the end of time, until inflation swallows up people's deposits, the problem will be almost solved. The current financial operation relies on the newly established banks. As long as there are no historical problems such as mortgages, the new banks can still complete the operation. Have you read the recent Gaia consciousness theory? Can we control Gaia and the Earth by controlling the collective consciousness of human beings? You wishful thinking. The greatest consensus in the world is that there is no consensus between people. It must be said that humans are a kind of creature with strong receptive ability. Half a year ago, most people were still worried about mortgages and concerned about the 3 mountains. As a result, now they have a bite to eat, they will not starve to death, and they can get together and chat, which has become a great pleasure in life. At this time, the big broadcast in the square sounded at the right time. The following is a notice. If you hand over any supernatural objects to the local government, you will receive a bonus of 10 million to 20 million yuan, be exempted from military service for the entire family, and be given 6 to 10 priority places in super large refuge cities, as well as 6 limited places to go to the mysterious area. Privately collecting supernatural objects will backfire. In Yunhei province, the victim Fu Lianli picked up a stone emitting green light and mistakenly thought it was a treasure and kept it. 3 days later, a second head grew out and he was sent to the hospital for treatment. He died, and it was later determined that the stone emitted mysterious elements that could cause genetic mutations in the human body. In Bixi province, the victim Zhang Ming picked up a bottle of mysterious cola and mistakenly thought it was a panacea and took it. The victim couldn't help laughing, and laughed wildly for a day and a night, suffocating to death. It was later determined that drinking the cola would make people laugh crazily, and nothing could stop it. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.